It's like a pizza crunch without the batter. It's like the wood juice without the water. You'll never get the knickers I found. What a fucking chance. Premeditated patter. Premeditated patter.
Pleasure to have you, Kris McPherson,
buddy.
the host of Tinpail TV. You served over 20 years in the jail, and what you do now, you've turned your life around. You're acting as an inspiration for your son, and on your YouTube channel, which I discovered quite recently, you talk about a lot of stories and that's happened in jail, some infamous prisoners that you've met, some I'm going to ask you about that you've mentioned, but you've also, your story started for a very young age. So if you can just take us back to like the beginning of your life and how life turned out for you.
So basically, I grew up, so my mum and dad were teenagers when they had me and my brother, like 10 months apart in the Gobbles. So my dad's family had moved to Cambuslang.
Mate, 2 seconds, mate. Sorry to interrupt.
It's alright.
I'm just going to move that mic to closer to him.
Aye, probably better.
Yeah, that's probably a better idea. Sorry about that, bro.
It's alright.
Fuck's sake, man.
Smash it.
I know, man. Hit the button. Right, mate, that's much better. Sorry about that, mate. So see if you can just take it back for when I start. So I'll just edit it together.
Aye.
When just if you start your answer.
So
again.
basically, I grew up in Cambuslang. My mum and dad were 17-year-old when they had me and my older brother 10 months apart. So basically, as soon as she'd gave birth, a month later, she's pregnant with me again. But about 6 months old or something, maybe a year old, a place of safety order was taken out for me and my brother.
Right.
Because my mum's family, like my dad's family, have issues, right? But they never the cops at the door and CID, murder squad, kicking doors in, raiding houses, all this crap, right? They just had addiction issues. They were just normal people, if you get me, know what I mean? So when the place of safety order was taken out, my dad got a house in Cambuslang, so me and my brother were living with him and his new partner, and my gran just lived round the corner, and me and my brother were always at my gran's house like, at the weekends, but because my gran had 7 kids who I think she had like maybe 17 grandkids by this point or something, 14, something like that, and we would always be at my gran's every weekend. But because my other cousins had like both the mum and the dad at home, me and my brother were there like constantly, and eventually like my dad started getting involved in like hard drug use. We never saw it, never knew it was going on, but we did know something was up. My brother tells me that he knows, and you know what, I wouldn't be surprised, because him and my dad were kind of closer that way, whereas I was kind of a bit wet behind the ears. Used to go to the library and nobody know everything they were talking. See, like he would want to tune into the convos, no, I would just blank out and not be interested. But
see the reason for that? Did you think you knew something was kind of going down, you didn't want to know, or what do you think was the reason for that?
I think back then I was just, how do I put it? I was dead. I was easy to hurt. I was easy to kind of
sensitive.
Aye, very, very, aye, definitely.
For a young age?
Aye, for the age I'm talking like, for like day one up to maybe like high school.
Right.
And at the start, like I remember like I used to kind of find it easy to cry and all that. But eventually I did know he was using drugs, but like it was almost like I was burying my head in the sand. But at the end of the day, like how should I try and find out what he was doing? I'm a child, I'm not meant to know these things, do you know what I mean? So I don't know, he wasn't a good dad, and I'm not saying that try to disparage him. What I'm saying is I think that it was a case of kids having kids.
Aye.
Just like a lassie you met in school, what a one night on, before you know it, she's having a kid. Like, what can I? It's just that saddens me, man. Do you know what I mean?
It's possibly their upbringing as well. It's like the chaos is like normality to them, so they're probably no prime to operate as functioning adults. Well,
the things that I've heard about my mum's family, about her childhood, are they put minds to shame.
Really? Aye.
Put minds to shame, man. Aye.
What kind of stuff did you hear?
I remember one time I was talking to my dad's sister, right? Now, my dad's sister was maybe 10 years younger than my dad. And I remember my auntie telling me she was doing the Gorbals one day with my mum. I think my mum was babysitting her or something.
Your mum's family, they were for the Gorbals?
My dad's family too.
Oh, your dad's family, so they're both for the Gorbals?
But
right?
my dad moved to Cambuslang when we were born. So that's how I'm for there, know what I mean?
Right.
And obviously sometimes my dad would go back to the Gorbals to maybe get drugs, see his pals, whatever they were doing. And Matty Katie told me that she was sitting in my mum's house one day and one of her older brothers just walked in, never says a word, whacked her with a hammer.
Why did they do that?
They're mental.
That was just the normal thing.
There's obviously been a reason, but I'm not saying it was a justifiable one.
But he's like,
maybe stole his hash, or I don't know. It's been something.
It's still that level of kind of violence.
So and I heard that my mum's dad used to beat the shit out of my mum's mum. I heard that. Right. I didn't know them. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know them, but I've heard stuff. Know what I mean? And just sounded horrendous, man. Like. Do you know what I mean? So maybe I should be a bit more understanding towards her, but don't really feel it, to be honest with you.
That's understandable, because I remember watching your podcast with Ricky Helene. You talk about your relationship with your mum and the violence from parent to child that didn't stop at her. It was inflicted on yourself as well.
Exactly, man. And like I remember. So I was my son's age when I was staying with him. And
what age is your son?
He's 12, first year.
12.
So I went there just before I turned 12, and she'd promised like, oh, everything's got to be brilliant and you no need to worry about, like, because we just wanted to know where mum, and my gran always used to say all the two boys needed was a mum's love. That's what she used to say, right? But it was like, know how it's meant to go in there and out there. It was just bouncing off there. It wasn't even getting through the first year. Know what I mean? Anything to do with emotions, feelings, I shut it down. Like pulled the plug out. Do you get me?
What age did you start that? Was that always a factor?
I would say about maybe high school or something, because see, sometimes when obviously, like, being a kid, right, everybody's maybe been battered, somebody's said something to you and you've started crying in school, like maybe P1, P2, whatever. Everybody's done it. It's a normal thing, right? I found that what I started doing after doing that, when people would laugh and jeer and all, I just used to do it in private, and then it wouldn't happen at all. And it was really after my dad died that it was almost like I was just dead inside. I had no feelings, I had nothing. The only thing I can remember feeling was anger and rage. Didn't feel love or loved. Didn't feel anything at all. The only time I used to feel really, really like pumped up was after, like, there'd be like 10 of my pals fighting with like 15, 12 of your pals, 10 of your pals, 8 of your pals, and it's just a mad rumble in the middle of a street, man. And I'm lucky I'm here now, that I'm no dead, I've no been stabbed in the wrong place and I'm paralysed for the neck down, whatever. And I'm just being honest about it. At the time, it was the reason I got out of my bed every day, man. It really was.
But was the violence?
Gang fighting, aye.
Was it, aye?
100%.
So what age did that start coming about? Because you say you used to be like a sensitive child. At what point did the transition become where you were a sensitive child to where violence became almost like a drug to you? So
I would say basically, right, so when we lived in England, right, what happened was my dad moved to England about 1991 or something, took me and my brother with him, set up house down there to get away from drugs, and ended up taking drugs down there and getting in with all the same kind of people but down here. Just defeated the purpose of moving.
They call it a geographical.
Right, exactly right. Do you know what I mean? And me and my brother were just doing his nothing to go back to Scotland, right? And he wouldn't let us. And then obviously we came up one year for Christmas, 92 it was, and my mum just appeared out of nowhere and she wanted to speak to my dad and all this. So I was just believing the web she was spinning, right? And basically I went to live with her for a year and a bit, and I was dipping my toe in the water of kind of violence there, but I wasn't a dominant youth or anything like that. I was always in a fight with somebody older and bigger, getting battered because I was always getting slagged or whatever. Just, you know what it's like in schools, man. Schools can be rough places sometimes, you know what I mean?
100%.
But I would say that really happened. So after I was staying with my mum, I'm back to England to stay with my dad because of how crazy her life is and how mad they are, right? And when we were down there, my dad's brother died, right? In his 30s, right? He was 31 or something, 32. Died of a brain hemorrhage or something. That was March 1995. So we came up to Scotland for his funeral, but went back to Hastings. And then when we were down Hastings, that same year, my dad's sister died of cancer. She was 38. So my dad agreed to let us come back here to stay with my grandparents, so we came back to Cambuslang. And even though my brother was jumping about with the local young team, smoking weed, drinking, I wasn't doing any of that. I had a couple of pals who, they weren't the local young team, but they were kind of in between, if you get me. We'd run about with pellet guns, shooting police motors, all that shit, BB guns, all that, right? We used to go, so there was me and these 3 or 4 other boys, right, and we all had a BB gun each, and we used to, like, I'm being serious, we all used to team up, like laser tag. They say we see the wee plastic BBs,
Aye.
and we just run about playing tag, like shooting at each other with these BB guns and all that. But then, see, I always knew there was boundaries, not like, if my gran told me I was kept in, I would have stayed in, but see, about 5 months after my auntie died, my dad died. So these 3 deaths have all happened in the space of 13 months.
Right.
My dad's brother, my dad's sister, they're all in their 30s, right? So it's not like, oh, he was 71. He lived through the war, what do you want? Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
And almost overnight, I remember when I actually got told he died, I went into my bedroom, I had a baseball bat behind my headboard and walked right out the house with it. It's pitch black, but, and went and got my pals and we went out to this scheme where we fought with all the time. They fought with us, we fought with them, and we just walked through the scheme with all the hoods up and all that, just looking for, so say it's like, oh, they're 5-0 for Govan, he fights for Hingway, grab him.
So was that just like an attempt to try to extinguish
that,
the pain? Did you feel pain? What did you remember your emotions at that time? What caused you to grab the bat and go? Was that like an escape, do you think?
I don't even know if I would say, see what you said there, extinguish the pain. I do think that I was projecting the feelings and the unresolved rage, and see, especially as it was getting worse and worse, right? I think that it was as if they had caused this hurt. They had caused it. I had to take
Who the
this
people
out.
you were looking for?
Aye.
Or just anybody that crossed your path?
Anybody that crossed my path. If they done something to trigger it, see the rage and all the shit I had about my dad and my mum and all that, that was all still in here, right? But if you had done something, and I'm not talking about like if you were just walking home with your dog, no bothering them, I'm talking about like, oh, they're big king.
Well, an active member of the opposite
aye,
gang.
right,
Aye.
I
Somebody
didn't
you
need
could
a reason.
almost got to justify a reason, like there's so-and-so, they don't need to have to do any like, direct thing to you, but they're a member of this gang we fight with, so there's a reason
I
enough.
just need to see you hanging about with somebody I didn't like, and that was good enough, because it's what they say, it's like, show me who your pals are, I'll tell you who you are, innit?
That's
so if you're jumping about, you can't tell me, you hang about with X, Y and Z, they all sell drugs and you don't, or they all take drugs and you don't, and you're hanging about with them, or they all like racing motors. There's
birds of a feather flock together.
What brought yous all together?
That's exactly it.
What is it they call it? Like common joint enterprise, innit?
That's exactly it. That's it. Joint enterprise.
You're on the same boat, mate.
Fly with the crows, shot with the crows.
Because I know you
There's
would
so many sayings because they're all true.
But I know for a fact they would do the exact same thing to me anyway. So I'm just like, man, do you know what I mean? It happened a few times, mate. It's not like I'm sitting going, aye, mate, I've been on both sides of it, so it's not like, and I'm not going to sit and say, oh, poor me, and I'm just thankful that I'm here. Obviously I've got flaws and shit wrong ways. It's psychic injuries I've got. I've got physical scars, but I don't even notice them, mate. I don't notice them, man. It's the kind of the scars in here, know what I mean?
The physical scars are easier to heal.
Aye.
See, what age were you when your dad died? Were you about 14?
I was just turning 14.
So see,
2 months before I turned 14.
So see when you went to stay with your mum, if we just take it back a wee bit, that was at the age of 12. What kind of stuff? So was it, you just say that 2 year period was probably the most hellish of your life because you went to stay with your mum, she was physically abusive.
Aye.
And then you had the number of deaths occurring in such a short period of time. And
staying with my mum was just a experience in itself.
what was that like?
It was for the first kind of 2 months or something. I went there in October 1993 and I left in December 1994. And to start halfway, it was all good. They were selling drugs for the flat, right? I didn't know at the time. And sooner or later, like, I kind of started noticing, because it's like, listen, man, right? You can put an act onto me, right? Every time I see you, but see if I spend long enough running about you, day in, day out, I'm going to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And basically, because your mask will slip, you see the ingrained behaviours, they start to show themselves. And that's what happened with them. They were, everything will be brand new, like buying me 5 Rangers tats for my Christmas, whatever it was, right? Because they don't work. They're selling smack for the house with 3 children in this house. And eventually, I ran away on Hogmanay in 1993, right? Mm-hmm. And it was because my mum's husband was saying he was going to batter me with this belt, a leather belt, right? And he was in the next room and he was making these snapping noises with it, right? And I have never been hit with a belt. I'm 12-year-old or something, right? And my guts were fucking churning, man. I mean, it was like, I'm sitting going, is this really happening? Do you know what I mean? And he didn't do it. Eventually they started doing it, but that was when I knew. I was like, no. And I ran away on Hogmanay in 1993. And I went to my gran and grandpa's, but my gran wasn't home. She was in England at my dad's, right? And my grandpa was like, I'm not taking the chance any of her brothers come to this door because they've been done with like murders and they're mad. They wouldn't think twice and doing in a 60-odd-year-old guy, you know what I mean? They wouldn't think twice. And he just he phoned the police. Police came, picked me up, took me to the cop shop. I was waiting in there for her and him to come and get me, and they came and got me. And what, man? See, as soon as I got back in that house, see, as soon as the door shut, that was it, man. Battered up and down that house, man. I mean, see, when I look back on it, see, when I read this type of shit in the paper, I go, that's the shit that happened to you, and you think, like, that was alright what happened to you. Not that I'm saying it was alright, it was like, it's...
Accepted it, you just maybe, see, because you were so young, do you think that's what happened in everybody's house?
Maybe I did,
it seemed normal?
Maybe. No, I knew that it... How do I put it? It was like, I thought, they're the adults.
So it's
this
almost
is what
like
happened.
this is the punishment.
Aye,
it's like getting your ass scalped if you compare it. It's like, right, that's what happens, but now you look back, you're like,
but they're going into overkill. Like, obviously running away, right, slap, told to get your bed, whatever. No done in over the course of like fucking 2 days.
Right,
like,
so it was a prolonged thing that was happening?
It was happening over 2 days, So what would happen is they got me in the house, they're batting the shit out of us, man. My wee brother's absolutely terrified. He was only 7 or 8. And what was happening was they would have me in, so say like this in the living room, and he'd be sitting there, or my mum would be sitting there, and he'd be standing in front of us with a belt, just every question answered, just whacking his weight, right? And I'm just, see, like, pure jumping all the time, and like, see, like, when I'm making noises when he's hitting me, he's like mocking me and all that, and I swear to God, and also see when they were getting bored, or when their drugs were wearing off, whatever, because it's New Year, I've interrupted the party, obviously, and they would tell me to get in my bed, and then I'd go to my bed, and I would just lie with the cover on my head. I didn't even want to look at him there, I didn't even want to see the world, nothing. And then I would wake up with my wee brother saying, you have to go in the living room. And that was happening in 2 days.
Right, so they would call for you back in
and just start doing it all again and asking me the same questions they've already asked me, and fucking...
What kind of questions would they ask you?
What did you say to your grandpa then? How did you get up to Whitburn? And how did you do this? How did you do that? Like, it just, they've asked me these questions 20 times each. It's like they're obviously trying to see. It's like.
If you've told
you ever try to see when you see something that's a fit up, the coppers, what do they do? When your statement doesn't match what they think, what do? They come back a year later, 10 months later, are you sure you didn't see? They're telling you what to say.
Aye.
That's what
So
I think they were trying to just barter me until I started saying whatever the fuck they wanted to hear. Right. I think that, but I don't know what they were expecting me to say. It's not as if my family were any threat to them. They would have murdered them, know what I mean? And no thought twice about it. Do you know what I mean? But that was mental, man. I had a black eye, right? See my head, because I had hair at the time, right? I had these lumps all over my head, right, for getting, see the wooden bars in a baby's cot. 3 of them snapped off us, right? No at the same time, like, just whack me in the head until it, like, and then it, and eventually it would be broken and they would just use another one, right? And I couldn't smile, know how your facial muscles, when you're smiling and it'll move, like you see bits moving, no, I couldn't even smile, not that I wanted to, but
just because you were in that much pain?
It was sore if I laughed. I fucking see my legs were all yellow up and down them, and my back was like big fucking purple stripes. It looked like a purple Celtic tap I had on for the back, big lines.
So what was the cause of, see, for the instances you say, like one of them you ran away, was there always, not to say so much like a provocation, would you have to do something for that to occur, or could that just happen randomly?
What, running away from them?
No, let's say like if they would would they do it just randomly, or would it say...
So what would happen was, right, I remember one time, listen to this, right, so see our bedroom in this house, there was no handle on the door, you couldn't open it from outside, we would have to wait for them to get up at their bed to open this door, right?
So they lock you in?
You couldn't even fucking go out and do a piss.
How long would they lock you in for at a time?
Fucking half a day. I remember, that wasn't all the time. I'm not going to sit and bullshit about that, right? That did happen, right? But see, being in, I can remember a couple of times I've had my head where we'd be in there like almost a whole day. Like they would just be zonked out their box, in bed, whatever, hung over, come down, whatever they were taking. But that was infrequent, the days where they would be lying fucking out there all day, because the buzzer's gone 24/7. Do you know what I mean? So they're losing money, maybe they're thinking that was maybe their blowout. Maybe once every couple of months or something that would happen. But it was horrendous, mate. They would just blow off the handle for anything at all. I remember one time I came back for the shop with 50p change shot or something for the Asians, news agents, and I get fucking battered, man.
Really?
And I mean smashed, punching me like a guy, like that. Snapped a golf club out my leg. You know what I mean? Just stabbed me there with a pen. Know how the pens you click it at the top? This was all just because I came back like 50, 40 pen shot for the show.
Fuck's sake, that is insanity, man.
So who gets into a murderous fury or 50 pence for a shop?
I know, as children, we've all done it. We've all been sent to the shop and came back and got ourselves. It's expected. You're like,
mate,
man, get yourself something.
I would never have stole a brass penny off of me.
Just that way you were in fear.
Terrified, man.
What was your life like? Were you just constantly in fear, going back home? Were you going to school at any point?
Right. So what used to happen was, I was going to school down there, and so was my wee brother, but we went to different schools. He went to St Francis and I went to Blackies, right? And I remember me and him used to meet up after school. The longer I was there, know what we used to do, see on the way home from school, just do big mad detours right round the Gorbals, taking more time, like walking 1 foot in front of the other.
Really? Just so you couldn't get home quicker?
I just don't want to get fucking home at all, mate. Really? Know what I mean? And we started doing mad shit. Like, I remember this, you've probably got to laugh at this, man. Me and my wee brother used to do mad shit, right? No, we had to do, mate. We sometimes, when they wouldn't let us out for the toilet, there would be empty juice bottles, glass bottles that we had to use, because these clowns were just too busy looking after ourselves. But we used to do is smuggle the glass ginger bottles out for a fucking pineapple juice, mate, and take them, see, to the police station. Just throw them in the door and hold the door open, throw them in, just sprint to school. Fucking mad, mate.
What made you bring it to the police station? Do you think that was just try to seek enjoyment? As a child, you get that mischievous mind. It's just having to piss in bottles as a way and locked in the room. But it's like that way you can we can have a laugh out of this. Do you think it's that way, that childish mind that's trying to just kind of find some sense of enjoyment?
I'm going to be honest with you, right? I think we were that worried about them finding out we were doing that we had to, it was like fucking smuggling something through customs, man.
So you had to like smuggle it out the house?
In our school bags, glass bottles full of piss, because we couldn't use the toilet sometimes, and we'd just go down to the cop shop and I'd be like, right, had the door open, my wee brother had the door, and I just flinged him right in the foyer, man.
Fuck's sake.
Just sprint.
Did you ever get caught doing it?
No.
I suppose.
No.
But see,
we didn't do it like, wasn't it like we were doing it every day, every
just,
Friday at 9:30 we were doing it. It was like sporadic.
Yeah.
Know what I mean?
But it's, so see when you got to school and that, was anybody aware of this kind of stuff that was going on?
Do you know what? I was acting out in school, but it wasn't. I was like drawing mad things like fucking like coppers with fucking axes on them and all this crap, right? And to me that's quite there's two ways to take that to me. Either you're no right in the head, or something's going on in the house and that's your way of telling somebody without trying to seem weak, vulnerable, or that. And I didn't know all this at the time, obviously, but I know it now. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think we saw it with the police and all. It's that authority figure. That's like almost a manifestation of the parents. But you're not showing it's the parents. It's like the police. That's the closest thing to an authority figure.
Well, that's what Freud said in Dreams. He says, like, the weirdest thing in your dream can represent something that you've got conflict with or whatever. And that's quite astute what you just said there, because maybe that without me, because I'm not going to draw a picture of her and him, because I've just basically told you what's happening now. Do you know what I mean? And I remember I used to lie in my bed at night and Manty gave me a prayer, right, because she's Catholic, right, and it was called St Jude, the patron saint of lost causes, and she said to me, do you know, every time I've said this prayer and willed something to happen, it's happened, and I used to use it every night and pray for that guy to die. Really? I'll get murdered, 100%.
Did the prayer ever come to life?
Well, he's still breathing.
Is he still alive?
Aye, but he's a mess, mate. I could kill him with one finger, but I've got bigger things going on.
I know, of course.
Get my way in, do you know what I mean? But I remember years ago, I'm talking about 12 odd years ago, I met my wee brother and we were talking about that. And he's like, I know where he stays, I know where his house is, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, don't need to be putting ideas in my head. Because like back then, I never had a kid and my life was still wasn't as bad as it was, but I was in a lot of conflict. I didn't know if I wanted to go straight, go that way, go fucking up, down. I didn't know. I was just out the jail, mate, and my head was fucking all over the place, mate. It's went from Nokias to Blackberries to fucking smartphones, and I'm just like, what's going on here, man?
It'd be too easy, that kind of thing. It's like almost institutionalised kind of thing, and it just gives you an excuse for where I've got a reason to do something.
Exactly.
You don't need to go looking for somebody, like you've got somebody sitting there.
And I think that's the easy way out, and I do believe that a lot of people who have been in jail all their days, and see, even the stress of getting a paper bill through your door, to me, right? See, when I first got out and I was getting these, like, so say your Wi-Fi bill, and I'm just like,
tax and all.
aye, right, and I'd need to phone up the house and I swear to God, see if I'd hear, I'd have pulled it out, mate. Because
I feel you, mate.
Aye, but see my housing, mate, my housing people, they're brilliant with trying to help you navigate all this bureaucracy where, like, you need to phone them and they do this and phone the council and sort that water payment and all, and I'm just like, but I think that a lot of people just go and steal a motor, sell drugs, they throw the towel in, I think. And do you know what? I've been there, but no way. I never wanted to go to jail. I just wanted to always even scores, right wrongs, perceived wrongs, obviously. And if the jail came with that, then that was fine by me. But I just never could have pictured I would lose don't want to say the interest in it, or I just don't feel the same anymore. I don't feel like that person anymore. But at the same time, see the way I'm going about the now, I feel like I'm not even that guy either sometimes.
Sometimes I mean? It's that transitional period where you go from that old way of living to a new way of living, and you're in the middle of the zebra crossing right now. That's kind of like you're kind of close to your like, do I keep going or do I turn back? Because when you're venturing into the unknown, it's easy to look back to what you know. Exactly. What you know is comfortable. Exactly, comfort zone. But you're getting into the unknown, which is uncomfortable, but that's where true growth occurs. Well, exactly, mate, because you've probably noticed it yourself, right? There's a lot of people coming out, right? So see, like the podcast circuit, if you want to call it that, there's a lot of people coming out who have got lived experience of special forces or whatever, right? So they don't quit mindset, which can apply to any fucking area of life you want to look at it. So what you just said there about transitioning, right? So I've been out just over 4 years now, mate. The longest I've been out's a year and a half for the age of 15, right? I'm 41 now. And
And I feel like this is it just starting to change. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it all started for doing that podcast. Like, people have been saying to me for a good, because as I think I told you, like, I was into writing papers, journal articles for the Journal of fucking Probation Studies, whatever, right? And people would always say to me, every so often, I would get a message, a mad random message on LinkedIn or something that I would never know how to use. I remember one time I was coming back for the tune, it was Christmas shopping 2 years ago, and some guy doing his PhD messaged me, "You the guy, Chris, who done da-da-da-da-da," and I'm like, aye, and he's going, "Your work's amazing, da-da-da-da-da, blah, blah, blah," right? And I'm sitting thinking to myself, when people are talking about doing a podcast, right, I'm going, at first I was like, not a chance. Like, I couldn't see like have my face out there and all that. When I was a kid, that was what I wanted, but no, through them, I want to see my face on a wanted poster. That's how daft I was, right? Like, they're me. Catch me if you can.
Aye.
But the thing with doing that is, like, I was like, no, because what if I start getting recognised in the street and all that shit? I couldn't be bothered with that, right? But I'm just like, no, what? You would hit a bigger, don't want to say demographic, what would I say? When
Bigger
you're
audience, maybe,
aye,
right?
right, our audience, exactly right, perfect, right. So compared to when you're writing an article, right, in a journal that's in a university that's just academics that are all reading it. But if I was doing a podcast, then think of the people who would all tune in and relate and get it.
Aye.
People-
I was talking about this yesterday. See, for the likes, as you say, like an academic journal, who's been in jail or who's got pending cases or who's for the scheme that's really reading academic journals, unless you're studying to do a PhD or a
Maybe.
doctorate or a master's or anything.
Aye.
But people watch YouTube. YouTube's the new TV. I don't watch telly at all. YouTube is like, that's what the Waynes are watching, it's what the adults are watching,
Aye,
everybody
everybody.
watching. And that's the thing, it's like, before, if you look at television, you had to like go through all these like production companies and they'd select
Aye,
people and they'd all
aye.
TV people.
Aye.
But now we're in control of our own channels.
tellies.
We've got relatable people. I'm just like him,
Aye,
and it's like
aye.
that thing as well. For me, that's one of the big things. Like what I enjoy doing, see, given that relatability. See, for the start, I've always never shied away from my past. I've always owned it. I've always
You
said
should,
this has
aye.
been in the jail, this and that, because for me, I was like, right, at one point, eventually it's going to come out. So I
Exactly.
may as well own it.
Own it,
At the same
exactly.
time as well, it's like people watching that can take inspiration, because as you say, when you're in the middle of that zebra crossing, you don't want to go back to that old way of life, but it's all you know, but you don't know anything else. But wait a minute, that guy done the exact same thing. He's got previous, he's done so many years in the jail. If he can do it, I can.
Aye, exactly.
And you go, and before you know it, that's a form of rehabilitation, because people are going like that, you know what, if he can do it, I can do it, then both. You took
Exactly.
one more person out the jail.
Exactly, and it's what else? So there's a thing in desistance literature, right? Desistance as in, so in criminology, there's a kind of sub-topic. It's called desistance from crime, which is basically like, how do people like me and you go straight? What is it that happens in your life where you just thought, no, what, fuck this, man, I'm hanging up my guns, do you know what I mean? What actually, so in everybody, there's a lot of differences and a lot of similarities, right? And there's a thing called hook for change,
Right.
and it's basically like, so when I was in jail, right, I was then the recall part of my sentence. My hook for change was my degree, right, because it changed my way of thinking, made me see things from multiple perspectives as opposed to my own, critical thinking, all that shit. But then having a son, so it's like these things that can catalyse change and put you on the path where you're like, here, no what, man, like I've just got out now, I've went and done telly shows, I'm doing podcasts, so see now what you're doing is these things are like multiple hooks, so it's like pulling yourself up this mountain hook by hook, right? And every one you do is sandbagging you against your old life, because when I was in prison as a YO and a young guy, I'm not going to lie, I don't even answer people when they say to me, what was it like the first time you went in? Because I was numb, I was dead. I'm not going to say I was scared then, because I know I wasn't. What I was I was scared of things, aye, but I saw going to the jail as going to the job centre. This is where I'm going to further my career or my reputation, whatever. And there's a lot, that's a common theme, as you'll know, in the jails, innit? It's like Pullman's bad for it, because
It's like a stripe on your shoulder, innit?
Pullman, you're either a predator or a victim. You're no in between. You're one or the other, and that's what's happening. So people just go out their way So it's like if they're doing something to you, they're not getting it done to them, sort of thing.
Aye.
But the adults, it's a lot more laid back, but it's a bit more of a minefield, because you probably know yourself, man, you could have done something that you don't even know you've done, and somebody could have just took the hump with you. But it's better because it's more lax and all that. So I would say I was probably more apprehensive when I was going up to shots at 22. I think I was 22, 21. I just went up to shots, and they just had a riot like the year before, and it was never out the paper for like all the wrong reasons, right? And it was always described as powder keg jail, blah blah blah, and I'd be like, what the fuck am I walking into up here? So I was just like, I'm just got to need to mind my P's and Q's, watch who I'm talking to until I can figure out the lay of the land, because it's not as if I was getting involved in the politics and who's fighting who and all that. I just went up and hit that education, mate, and I spoke to a lot of people and that, obviously, but I made sure that I wasn't kind of, as we say, camped up. You know what camped up means? Like
behind your door kind of such.
No, like, you go to the gym, so who's 5-0 camped up with? Or Chris? So, like, you go to the gym together, you go to exercise together. You hang about together, basically. Aye. But I just always made sure that I was kind of... I chose my company carefully, and I'm not meaning that in a bad way. Just, obviously, you know, there's guys in there who are just... They're no hinking about getting out or trying to correct themselves. They're just... taking it a day at a time. What have you got for me?
That's exactly. I was talking about it. See with Sean on Sean and the boy Taj on the Social Sessions podcast. It was just yesterday we done it,
right?
And we're talking about that thing. Why people in jail, they like when you go into jail. See, you go look at that young team thing. It's all damaged people or connecting and not kind of that way. It's kind of looking for that kind of bonding, that brotherhood, that tribalism, all the words. So when you're taken away from that and plunged into a jail environment, high stress, high pressure environment, you're constantly looking for that tribalism. Who can I be a part of? But then there's always wee groups. You've got the people that's always in the chase every day. There's the troublemakers, and you get the kind of quiet ones. You've got your mixture. It's just like a wee micro society. So that's what you find, that some people gravitate. You'll get the odd people that'll maybe... You'll find that people, the longer they do, the more they kind of go their own path. Let's see, me when I first went into jail, it was kind of like, who can I hang about with? Because you're looking for somebody to kind of help navigate it with. But as the more times you date, you kind of get
find your own feet.
You find your own feet, and you just go in. You're like, you know what? Sitting. I sometimes like my last two sentences, like I liked my own company. Good going out to exercise, chatting to people. Sometimes I'd go and walk myself. Because you just get like that, you're like, you see it all, you're aware, you become aware, and see when you're not taking drugs or that, you see it for what it is. You see these groups, it's like you've almost got a kind of, it's like being a screw almost, because they've obviously got that view, they can see it all as well.
But you know more that they'll hear about what's going on, but you see what's going on.
You know the ins and outs, and you'll pick up things here and there, but you'll be like, right, talk to him, but you'll keep your distance, because a lot of people as well, they bring all the shit they're up to outside and all that kind of stuff, like the chaos and that, they bring it into the jail with them, and it's not so much they might be causing it, but they're just a magnet for it, because they're just in that mindset.
How they're conducting themselves.
Exactly, man, and that just attracts it. When you're, as you say, when you're flying with the crows, you're shot with the crows, and all that kind of stuff.
I'm not going to lie, mate. I don't think it hurt me until I had a kid. I had my kid at 38 or something, something like that. I don't think I realised what it was to have your liberty taken off you until I had a kid. Now, remember, I'd been in and out of jail for the age of 15 right up to then, and that was the only time it ever hurt me, where that I actually gave a fuck where I was. I didn't give a fuck before that. No, I did a fuck, man. I didn't. Do you know what I've always said? Inside and outside at one point felt like the same thing to me, and I don't really know how to go into that, but it was like they felt like the same thing.
Do you think, see, that period when you stayed with your ma, when you were locked in the room, you're almost a prisoner in that house, do you think because you become almost desensitised to that feeling during that period, that when you went into jail it was almost
think so, because
it was nothing new?
Obviously there wasn't the internet back then and all, so what did you have to keep yourself busy? Computer games and films. So me and my brother used to constantly watch films. At first it was like all your kind of Bruce Lee's and your Enter the Dragons, Van Damme and all that, right? But I remember around about the time my dad died, it was all like Goodfellas and The Craze, all these mad gangster films, right? And see, the funny thing is, right, I remember my dad telling me and my brother stories about gang fighting, like on the Clyde Bridge and all that. And being totally mesmerised by these stories, fighting with like the Brigton lads on the bridge and getting chased around the Glasgow Green with the coppers, or hearing these mad stories and thinking it sounded cool as fuck. But then, see, when my dad would sometimes tell us stories and all that, but it was when we started watching these films, it was like trying to absorb these behaviours, mentalities, characteristics into who you are or who you think you want to be. And that's quite a common theme, as you'll probably know, in the jail. Like, you can go into any cell, when there's a poster on the cell and it's a film, what film is it?
Aye, it's always Goodfellas, Scarface, all of the gangster films.
Right, because why do you think that is? Because
Glamorised, innit?
Right, and I believe, so say you want to play for Man United, what's going to be your focal reading and like watching? What you got to be watching, reading all the time?
I suppose you got to be watching a lot of football.
Who all came before you?
Aye.
So it's like
the greats like Alex Ferguson or David Beckham, Ronaldo, or them.
Because you go into any cell in the Wiles as well, right? What books do you see people reading?
Gangster books, Paul Ferris books,
right.
Scottish Hard Bastards, all the same. We've read all the same books.
Right, so what is that telling you? People aren't just reading that for something to read. I believe that this is... See, I don't know if it's I don't want to say it's a Scottish thing, right? But see, I think that especially... Scots especially are just... A lot of them just kind of... I don't know if it's like pertain to our culture, or it's like idolising organised crime people and like cheering them on, all that kind of stuff. I think a lot of it comes down to like no having a positive male role model at home. And I used to laugh at that. See, when I heard that right years ago, I used to be like, roll my eyes and all that. But see, the funny thing is, see, being a dad now, I know that because I see a lot of the wee guys where I stay. And not to be disparaging, right, but like a lot of them don't have hands-on dads. Many of them, they've either got dads at work all day or dads that just sit about getting full of it, and they're not giving their kids anything to respect. Whereas like me and my kid are joined at hip. Like obviously he's got his own life, I've got my own life, but I'm a single dad bringing up a 12-year-old boy myself. And it's quite... It's more stressful than I let on.
Challenging.
Well, I hit the ground running, but it came naturally to me. I don't know why, because his mum was like totally convinced when she gave birth I would be out the picture, and because like we'd go shopping for prams and all this, right? And she'd be like, "No, do you like this one? Do you like that one?" I'd be like, sitting on my phone, not interested in a pram. You know what I mean? It's a pram's a pram to me. And she'd be like, "Oh, I'm worried you're not going to bond with this kid because I was like, you used to play with prams as a Wayne. I didn't play with prams. I can't have no got that.
Pram's a pram.
A pram's a pram to me, right? Exactly. Just grab a pram, let's go. I'm hitting a badging. It was almost like the realisation of being a dad was just hitting me, right? Like, subconsciously, like there's this life I'm responsible for and all this kind of stuff, and it was like too much to deal with. I'm not going to lie. It was getting a bit too much to deal with in the back of my mind, but see, now that I'm here and I'm doing it and all that, but it's still that too much to deal with manifests itself in other ways. So like, say like, because I have like kind of like PTSD and that, right? And see if that starts to hit me a wee bit. Some days are worse than others, obviously, right? But see if my kid's there and I can tell he knows there's something wrong, it makes me worse. Because it's like, no, I'm feeling what he's feeling. Right, I'm tapping what I'm feeling. And I just don't need it.
Because you've been in his shoes before, know what I mean? You've got that kind of, that awareness.
It's what I said to you before about...
That observation skills.
It's what I said to you before about shutting feelings off. This is why, because feelings just get in the way, man. I try to get through the day.
So you're still trying to do that? Or do you still do that, shut off feelings?
I try to, but... the older I'm getting, man, it's they have their use, do you know what I mean? I'm not going to sit and say like things like I want to be a robot and no feel anything, but it's just as long as you know how to work through it and how to resolve it, and not just sit and dwell and just go, right, it'll pass, like that kind of stuff.
Get lost in your feelings and such.
Aye, do you know what I mean? So you just need to learn to kind of cope with it and just run with it, know what I mean? Definitely, mate.
So see, when we go back to that period stage of your man, I think it was about 13 months, was it roughly?
About that, aye.
So at what point were you able to eventually get out of that situation? So what was it that occurred?
What happened was, it was December 1994, right? And see my dad's sister who died, her son lived in the Gorbals, right?
Right.
With his dad's died there. And one day I was out in the swing park, and I heard somebody shout my name, and I looked up and it was him. I pure idolised him when I was a kid too.
Was that your uncle?
No, my big cousin.
Oh, your cousin.
My
Right,
big cousin Robert. And he was like that to me, mate, I talked to you. And he shouted me so that, because he knew my mama's Wendy's worry, wasn't he? Daft, he knew they could have dragged me up and kicked the shit out. It was just, who's that? What's he wanting? Do you know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, my gran wants you to phone her, my dad's mum.
Right.
And I walked to a phone box, and I think I had like fucking £2 for sweeties or something, and used that to phone my gran. This is when £2 was £2. You got your 5 minutes in it. Now it's like 20 seconds on that jail phone, innit? But aye, so I phoned my gran, and she was just saying like, we'll come and get you, blah blah blah. So we arranged a date, and I didn't even tell my wee brother, I didn't tell nobody. I was telling nobody this.
Is this just you to get
Aye. It's my wee brother. We've not got the same dad.
Right.
So
right,
he's my mum's kid. That's the only one that wasn't taken off her.
Right, I see.
Know what I mean? And one day they were going to come to, so I went to John Bosco Secondary School. It's not there anymore. It was kind of like right on the Oatlands Gorbals kind of the border kind of thing, right? Mad school, but the day that I was meant to meet them at the school, she didn't send me to school, and I was like, she can read my thoughts. I was shiting it, man. I didn't actually think that, but it was the next best thing, know what I mean? I was like, what's the odds in that? They know something, know what I mean? So they were like the KGB to me, like they can read your mind, and they're reading all your comms and everything, man. Like, what? They know the answers. But that night, she asked me to go to the shop for her, and I just walked to my gran's, just walked it, man. I was like, fuck this, I better try and get a taxi. The guy wouldn't take us. I was only 12. See, the weird thing is, I'd went and bought all groceries before I done it. So I'm walking away up to my gran's with these carrier bags full of bottles of Coke and cakes and all that.
I think that was just to kind of stay in disguise in case somebody seen you.
Well, maybe in case, like, cause see all the way up that straight road for Gorbals to Cambuslang, right up past Rutherglen, I kept turning round and looking and watching the flats in the Gorbals getting further and further away.
Was it the high rises they stayed in?
Aye, right. So back then there was Cali flats. Some of them are still there.
Waddle Court and that?
Aye, so Waddle Court's still there, but these were like Sandyfield Road. They're not there now.
Right. But was it part of the big high rises?
Aye, they're massive. Aye, they got to 23 or something, but we only stayed 4 up.
Right.
But it was just like, it was like the Gorbals itself was this evil entity or something. I look at that place, see driving through it now, I can't get out quick enough.
Is it still like that, aye?
Emotion.
What
I mean is, like, it's almost like even being in that area just brings a feeling back, and I'm kind of glad that a lot of these places that were there now aren't there. So it's kind of like, it's like a sign. Times have changed, things have moved on and all that, but I just don't like it's nothing to say, like, I've got pals for there and not, but I just don't like being in that area, man. For some reason it's like her ghost still there or something.
I know, definitely there is that feeling, because there's a lot of trauma attached to it, because when you look back at that, that's probably the catalyst. That obviously, along with your dad's death and that was the catalyst for probably later in life, your behaviour later in life. So see, when you went to your grand's, where did it go for there?
So basically what happened was I went to my gran's, and my grandpa booked a bus ticket to England after, so say I went up on the Monday, we were leaving on the Friday, you know, she never even sent police out to look for me. What if I had been abducted by a mad...
Did she let anybody know that she knew you were away? Obviously she'd have known you were away, but did she just say, wait,
no, I heard she kicked my wee brother's head in for it.
Oh really?
I heard that years later, she battered him for it. I heard that she'd broke his arm, but I remember asking him about it, and he says she didn't break his arm, but he got lettered.
Fucking hell.
So he got a down, like, you must have known, see, like that, do you know what I mean? And just shows you, but so I went back up there, back up to my gran's, got a bus ticket, went to England, was doing England for about 8 months or something. By the time we came back up here in the summer of 95, in between my uncle dying and my auntie dying, do you know what I mean? So my dad came up here in the summer of 95, dropped us at my gran's in Cambuslang, and went back to England, and then he came back up, in November because his sister had died, I was saying, and he went back down, and next thing he was dead, I know.
So did he, see when you came back up, did you go and stay with your granny when he went back to England?
Aye.
So what was the circumstances surrounding your dad's death? Because I remember seeing you talking about, I think it was in Ricky's podcast, it was quite suspicious.
Aye, well, basically what happened was, so at the time this was all going on, I think my dad and his girlfriend were on the rocks, right? And I don't think he was coping with it too well, because he started like hanging about with no-gooders, getting full of it, all that. But the thing is, he'd ended up in the company of these two guys, right? One's called Andy and one was called Steve, I think. My dad, Andy had introduced my dad and Steve, right? And what happened was my dad and Steve started arguing about something, and I think one of them flung a headbutt. Don't know if my dad headbutted him or he headbutted my dad, don't know. But then the other one's hurt the other one with a bottle, and then my dad stabbed him in the leg or something. So Andy's helped him to hospital, and then a couple of days later the police have come through my dad's door, arrested him on suspicion of stabbing that guy, and he got bailed for the police station. But when he got bailed for the police station, he met Andy and Steve, and they were saying, let's let bygones be bygones, all that shit. But my dad was drinking and taking fucking sleeping tablets, Valium or something, right? And next thing, he's been funded in his room. Now, reading this just looks like a random drug death, right? But the funny thing is, I don't know if you read wee things like this, right? So, like, the oven door, right? There was like an oven, and the door was pulled open, and the heat was on, blasting heat out. The thermostat was turned up full bung. Now, this is a common kind of misconception in criminology, right? Turning up the heat and they'll throw off the time of death. That was the first thing I thought of when I read that.
Really? Is that
it's a lot of shit.
Is it?
No,
But is that kind of like the things,
People
if you get
ju-
pulled with a polish, you eat them with full of coppers and it will take away the alcohol for your breath?
Aye, no, it's a lot of, that's nonsense.
Like an old wish type, fish
Aye,
type,
right.
but people believe it.
Exactly, right. And what else was there? The lividity in the body and in my dad's body indicated that he'd been moved post-mortem or something, right? There was paraphernalia lying all over the room. There was, and see, know how the Yale lock, know how you pull it down and you pull the wee button down to hold it open? That was pulled down. Now, tell me something. For all the people that I know who used drugs with my dad, told me he was super secretive with it. He would never tell you what he had, where he was doing it, who he done it with, blah, blah, blah. He would hide everything. And I do understand that in a drunken stupor, you can let things fall about, not. But tell me something, right? See if you were going to have a hit, why would you leave the door unlocked? The MD could just walk in, a child, anybody. I believe that he left that there for somebody to find him. That's why he unlocked it. So basically what happened, he had this big bruise in his head as well that they couldn't explain. He basically choked on his sick, inhaled his vomit, and he'd been injected in his right arm. My dad's right-handed. How can he inject himself in his right arm?
Yeah, I see.
Right? And this is where it gets funny. So my gran told me this whole story. She says that the pathologist who done my dad's post-mortem had also done my uncle's, my dad's brother.
Right.
And my dad had went to identify. My dad knew this woman, and she was phoning my gran and saying, I can't believe it's him, and I was only talking to him and all this stuff. And she said, see the guy he was last seen with? She says, his name's come up in a carbon copy investigation just like this, right? And I'm sitting thinking, because I used to read all this mad kind of shit about serial offenders and all that, and I still do, right, because it's part of my criminology and all that. And I used to think, like, that sounds too incredulous to be true, like, he's done it before, We're talking about killing people here. It's not like fucking stealing hubcaps, know what I'm talking about? And I knew this guy, I'd met him a couple of times. And so I've been going through all these years with all these questions and things swimming about my head, right? So listen to this. 2016, I'm in Kilmarnock prison, and I wrote to the coroner in the county where this happened, and I said, can you send me every statement, report, whatever you've got on this case? and I addressed it to I'd actually asked him, does he know, because I told him the woman's name who done my dad's post-mortem. I says, do you know this woman? Do you know how I'm getting in touch with her? Because you're better going to the horse's mouth, no asking somebody to ask somebody to ask somebody. Do you know what I mean? So he sent me all the paperwork, CID statements, toxicology reports, fucking everything, mate. And remember, I'm in the last year of my degree, so I've not got that, oh, let's just tick the boxes fucking mentality. I've got this, pull this apart with a fine tooth comb, read it 100 times each, think about it for 100 days each, and then figure it out. And everything my gran told me was in these statements. There was a lassie who Andy had turned up at her door that night or the next day, and she says, I was going out, and so this is a guy my dad's last seen me, right? He turned up at my door, he looked very downcast, depressed, whatever, right? And he was saying, my life's over. And she's like, I was getting a bit pissed off because I was getting ready to go out and he just turned up at my door unannounced, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, what is it? And he said, so my dad's nickname was Mac. His name was Paul, right? But his nickname was Mac. And he said, Mac's dead. I've done it again. My life's over for this. No, the hair's in the back of my neck stood up because this lassie had named in this statement the other a lassie he'd done this to before. He in another, I think it was in Margate, right? And I just thought, see, when you actually see somebody else's name, it's not just, oh, he told me he knew somebody who knew somebody. It's not like that. It's like, fucking Kris McPherson, he done this to Kris McPherson, whatever, right? So it's a person, you can go and look for that now. And I was like, holy shit. So what ended up happening was he left the area the next day. Now, see if the police were looking for you, especially for like a suspicious death, and you left the area, that's suspicious. Because what you're trying to do is like basically move from one police jurisdiction into another one, and they two might know, want to share evidence, talk to each other, know what I mean? They might be in competition. So he'd left, and the coppers caught up with him about 2 months later because he was just like a mad dosser sleeping about, no fixed address or that kind of shit. Now this is interesting, right? The police got him in a interview room. He was charged with shoplifting or something, and he made out he didn't even know my dad was dead. They started greeting, crying and all that, and I'm just like, mate, you're lucky I never ever bumped into you, man, because I'd unleashed hell on him, mate. I'm out it now. I'm not out it. I've made my peace with it. I've got other shit happening and all that, but see, back then, I remember reading that in jail and I thought, you're very, very, how do I put it? See, like, making out, why did the coppers not think that was weird? You've already got a statement saying, he's told me he's done this before, they're the lassie's name he done it to, and you've just found somebody else in the exact same... But you don't think that's weird? You know, would you not even want to investigate that?
Do you think it's because it's a drug death?
100%.
More paperwork. That's probably what they thought.
It's what. See, when I was on Sean's podcast, know what he said? They said they were in Brighton, Eastbourne, somewhere down that way, which is near where this happened by my dad. And there was like a 700% increase in ODs, something like that, right? Which is unheard of, wasn't it? I don't know if it's 700%, something like mental, right? The police found out that it was a drug gang just giving people hot shots if they owed money and weren't paying, or just scum of the earth, mate. You're just imagine that happened to one of your family and you went through your whole life thinking they'd done that to themselves. It's like, you ever heard of people in some jails where what they do is they choke you out and then hang you for the
look at right? Jeffrey Epstein and that.
Right, prime example, right? So imagine somebody going through their whole life like me or you. Imagine somebody done that to you in the jail and your dad thought you'd done that to yourself. Exactly. And you didn't. Somebody done it to you. That's just the most frightening thing I've ever heard of, man.
It's almost like experiencing the death all over again, because you try and come to terms with a drug death. It's like they died like an overdose or whatever, and then to find out, wait a minute, no, there was foul play state. Where did you start to find out the information? How far was it after the death?
So basically, my gran told me all this stuff, right? But I kind of thought, I just didn't put too much. I don't know. It just sounded like mental,
A
like
bit far-fetched.
kinda. I don't know if I want to. I just didn't know what to believe, to be honest with you. And then I just thought. In fact, my gran had died in 2015, right? So it was like the year after she's died, I've been sitting with all this in my head, and because I never really got to say goodbye to her and all that. I wrote her a letter and all that, but and I was like, fuck this, I'm going to find out. And they sent me all that. I've still got it all, know what I mean? It was weird just seeing everything that she'd said, like, say, 30 year, 25 year before this, had all been in these reports.
See, how did your gran find out about it?
Because the pathologist,
so she knew, like, she knew your dad, she got in touch and says, listen.
My gran knew that pathologist because my dad's brother had died in the same town the year before.
Right.
So my gran knew her. And then when my dad died, she done my dad's post-mortem as well. So that was the second time she was phoning my gran to tell her son's been fucking fun dead, know what I mean?
I see. So there
and
was
then she was,
a relationship established.
so she was telling my dad, this pathologist was telling my gran all the background, which led up to my dad's passing away, know what I mean? So, horrendous, man.
100%, man. Especially being a young guy losing your dad, then to find out like years later, as I say, it brings all the feelings back, and then that sense of injustice. But see the guy that's possibly responsible for this, is he still alive? They died, aye?
OD'd.
Did they OD? When did that happen?
In fact, I think it happened like the year after my dad.
Year after your dad
something
died?
Like that. It was soon. It was soon, aye. It was fun in a back alley, OD'd or something.
Was he, aye?
Maybe it was his, I don't know. Like, I do believe, see, when you're going about... To me, there's a difference between being evil and being, like, fucked up, right?
Aye.
I would say I'm just fucked up. Whereas years ago, I'd have been, no, I'm the maddest and the baddest, blah, blah, blah. But see, now I just know what I'm on and who I'm on now. And I believe that, see, if you're going about try to take people off the numbers and let everybody think it was their own fault, and somewhere along the line, man, a piano's going to fall on your head.
No, eventually you run into yourself, know what I mean? That's exactly it, man.
Exactly.
It's like believing karma and all these things, man, and the universe is a strong, powerful, mysterious thing, man. It's like you don't get away with doing that shit, and nothing happens to you.
Exactly.
What goes around comes around.
Exactly, mate.
So see if you then on, you said at that point, that period in your life probably marked as like a turning point for yourself, like as a person. Like the very first thing is, you see, you grabbed the bat, you went out looking for somebody. For then on, like, take me like when you got your first jail sentence, what was leading up to that and what occurred?
Basically, I started thinking about with my brother and all his pals who were like the local kind of young team.
Is that your wee brother?
No, he's my older brother.
Right.
10 months older than me. Right. That's not my brother who lived with my mum. This is like
another brother, the one that was kind of close and buff.
My older brother, aye.
Right.
And we were drinking every Friday and Saturday, going in bus runs into our schemes. Just sometimes you'd be going with a bird fae wherever. You would all go up and you would make it back without incident, or you wouldn't. Other nights just go out and just be causing it, mate. Just being a wee bastard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just
typical coming of age stuff, innit?
taking it all this on anything else, basically. I remember sometimes, but mate, I'm not going to lie, sometimes I remember if I'd been out drinking, right, and then I'd get home and it would be late at night, mate, and I would just lie in my bed greeting myself to sleep, man, thinking about all that shit, aye.
But the damage you were inflicting?
No.
Or the stuff that happened?
My dad's thinking about my dad. Mate, I'm not going to lie, I didn't care about that back then. I didn't give a fuck. See, my philosophy back then was, if you've done something, no matter how small, trivial, then I'm entitled to do what I want. By default, you can, and I know that sounds harsh, but because it is, do you know what I mean? And obviously that's not my train of thought now, clearly, do you know what I mean? But at the same time, I do believe there's people who do deserve harsh treatment. Like, do you know what I mean? There's just people, there's things you can never undo, there's things that, do you know what I mean? Like, just maniacs out there that just need brought to book, man, whatever way, shape or form you want to do it, you know what I mean? And I'm not going to change that view, like, because it might make somebody feel uncomfortable or feel, it's not saying I'm going out to date, but I do believe that sometimes certain things need to be done, because there's just evil people in the world, man.
Definitely.
Do you know what I
Sometimes
mean?
if your back's against the wall as well, and you're left with few options, sometimes
No,
you
I
need
mean
to do
people
that.
who are hurting people for kicks. I don't mean like if you try to do me and my back's against the wall. I'm just thinking I need to do what I need to do to stop you from hurting me. That's no, I don't mean like that. I mean like somebody that's waking up one morning deciding who they're going to kill, who
All the
they're...
predators and that.
Aye, I believe I'm talking about that.
There's
Not
some
I mean,
stuff,
like
as you
just
say, you can't undo. You can't come back for.
Aye, and there's no amount of explanation, reform, rehabilitation, whatever, that's going to convince me that you've changed. There's just no.
Some people, it's like get an inherent thing. It's just inside them.
They enjoy it.
You look at that. It's like you look at pedos and that kind of thing. There's just something. It's like I always compare it. If you see somebody talk about like maybe convicted of a violent offence, for the most part, you can look at it. A lot is either. No, very often it is unprovoked violence. It's like you look at it like a fight's broke out, somebody's picked up a knife and stabbed it. That can happen to anybody, I think. It can't happen to anybody that you can touch your vein. That's not something you just accidentally do. That's something inside you. It's like how do you
grown.
Exactly, you can't just unlearn that. It's not a learned behaviour. It's like, know what I mean? It's something you're acting out that's within.
Exactly.
So it's like a malicious feeling. It's like
and they think they're not doing anything wrong. They think they're spreading love, and I'm just like, no, you're not.
You're not spread something else, you can't, know what I mean?
Spread your brain. No comment.
So if you take us, so what was your first sentence for?
You're not even going to believe this, mate. My first sentence was for abducting 2 social workers.
What was it? What age were you?
15.
Really? So what happened? Tell me about it.
So, I ended up, I was gone with this lassie, right, for Castlemilk.
Right.
And, because I got kicked out of Calfkin High, ended up in Castlemilk High, right? Frying pan into fire, know what I mean? And I met this lassie, was spending a lot of time at her house, and every time I'd phone her, right, not every time, but there came a point where I'd be phoning her, she had an older brother, right, and he'd have his pals in, and there was there was always one in there, just always one, and he's shouting in the background, I'm banging your bird, not, and I'm just like, you have no idea the hell I'm about to rain on your life, mate. Just the more he was doing it, man, I'm sitting, right, that's it, man, that's it, right. So I by the time I'd been kicked out of school, right, so I ended up went and got a hold of my cousin, because I was this type of person, right, so say me and you are enemies, right, I would find out every wee thing I could about you and your life, your mom, your dad, everything, your pet's name, where you took your dog for a walk, nothing, it just gave me a picture of what kind of person you are and all that, right, so I kind of got a bit of a laugh at it, right, so I ended up finding out where this guy worked, and I went up and got my cousin, he got down with us in a bus. And we're only about 14 at the time or something, just turning 15, right? 1997. This was me leading me up to doing this, right? He worked in a shop down Govan Hill, so we got the bus down. Now I've got a kitchen knife in my tracksuit top, right? Can't mind if my cousin had anything. And we're walking about this shop. Now, I could never envisage any 14-year-old being in this shop, this particular shop. There would be no reason for a 14-year-old to be in here, even buying anything, because the shit in there's 14-year-olds don't buy it, right? So I walks in, I'm walking around the shop and I'm looking at things, not, and there's this wee woman at the counter and she's like, can I help you, son? I'm like, it's big 5-0 in the day. She's like, no, it's his day off. Me and my cousin just looked at each other like, what? Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm sitting going, yeah, maybe this was meant to happen. Maybe we're going to end up in the jail today and all that, right? And I was like...
Did you think that at the time?
No, when I left, I was maybe. I was like kind of thinking that, like, that was a bit weird, Jink, because we had this planned out for about fucking 2 weeks. And I was like, my cousin, so I says to her, tell him Kris was in. I knew right, I said my name, my full name. Knew right away he would know who I was and what I was there for. And I says to my cousins, like, what do you want to do now? And he's like, want to just get a bus home, we'll get a drink. So I was like, aye, right, mon. Ends up getting a bus up the road, right? And the school that I was kicked out of, Kafkin High, there was like 6 different schemes all went to this school, right? And some of them didn't get on, some got on with others, whatever. And I remember we were starting at the shops, mate, and I'm steaming out my nut. I'm like 14, 15-year-old, and there's like the group of boys my age all getting at the fingers and moaning and all that. I'm like, that fucking right. Aye, man, I am bad. A white trackie on, mate. I couldn't even walk in a straight line, try to run after them, fawning muck and everything. I was a mess. I was wrecked. So somebody's phoned the police, right? And I'm walking up to my grand's house, and the coppers took me home and ended up, I tried to hit one of them, an ornament, and the guy just...
Getting you back in your granny's house, aye?
Aye, I walked in the house and there was 2 social workers talking to my grandpa, man. The coppers have walked in the living room with me wrecked out my box, man.
What were the social workers up for?
Talking about me and my brother.
Oh, really? So this was totally unrelated?
No, it was unrelated to that day. It was about the behaviour in general.
Aye,
obviously,
so it was a build-up, but that
the
day you just
trauma
had
and
to
my
get
dad
taken
dying and extra support, whatever.
Right, I see.
And I'm just sitting there pure, just pure, like a raging bull, man. And then I just ended up picking an ornament up and trying to scud one of them, and he just...
Was that one of the police or one of the social workers?
One of his police.
Right.
And he just done like a mad Steven Seagal move, like, and I just...
Flipped you?
I was lying on my back looking up at him, man. They dragged me out the house screaming, man. But, so that guy, right, he had a cousin, the guy whose shop I'd went to, right. So he had a cousin who lived across the road from my girlfriend's mum's house.
Okay.
And I remember one Friday night, right, I started drinking like vodka and cans of Tennant's, whatever it was, right, and I'm sitting, not even like doing it and boring with him, doing it at all, right, and I'm sitting in the room and I look out the window and I'd had a dunton by this point, and I sees him across the road helping somebody fix a motor. Now he's older than me, but he was like 18, 19, I was 15, right, and I'm just sitting like that wee guy out the Omen. It's like, oh, you're night tonight, kid, you're getting it, man. And my girlfriend's ma, but she just knew something wasn't right, man, because she knew that boy, she knew his whole family and everything, and I was getting them funny phone calls and they were phoning her about it and all that, right, what I tell him, because I took the phone number out of, like, she'd a mad phone book and all that, and I took the number out of it. I was just going out my way to annoy him. And a couple of times I'd snuck out and slashed his tyres and all that, because he stayed just doing the hug a bit. And that night, my girlfriend's mum she wouldn't leave my side, because see, the more I was drinking, the more whatever it was just building and building and building. I was like, I'm splattering you, man. As soon as I've finished this booze, I'm coming out there. And he couldn't even see me at the window or nothing. I was just sitting behind the blinds.
So you sitting watching him? How long were you watching him for?
Hours.
Really?
Aye, 100%.
Aye. But was it constantly like getting up and doing, or were you just sat there?
Just drinking my booze, sitting, watching him out the window, and then just getting up to go for a piss, come back in, sitting down, drinking, watching him.
Really? Aye.
The whole time, aye. And she knew there was something wrong, right? And because obviously I'd been boozing, and she seen that I was drinking, and she seen him out the window, and she looked like she was getting a bit distressed, like with me. I was like, I'm not going to do nothing, I promise you not. But there was like a wee voice in the back of me saying, as soon as she walks in that living room, I'm running out of there and fucking plunging him, know what I mean? And it got to about 12:30 at night, and my girlfriend's like, just phone the social workers to take you home to my grand's, right? And they eventually came out, and they says they want to take me. My grands are taking me to fucking somewhere like Stranraer or Straven or something, and to me that was like go to a foreign country. I had never been out of fucking Glasgow, really, know what I mean? And was way out my comfort zone, didn't want to be out my comfort zone, like kind of Cambuslang area, Rutherglen, Ordrin, kind of southeast bit, that's my comfort zone, right? And I just did not want to be out in there. And I put the kitchen knife down my tracky top, and we were in the motor driving down the expressway, and I was pushing their buttons, right? I was saying, just want to drop me off at my pals, and they're like, no, you're going with us, and blah blah blah. So driving down the expressway, and one of them started kind of like, I was intoxicated, being unruly, so I think the driver's response was warranted, like shouting at me, and she pulled her on the shoulder and says, if you're not going with us, get out the motor now. But we're surrounded by fields and trees at fucking 12:30 at night. I would need a fucking kitchen knife to walk through there, know what I mean? And I was like, no, it's cool, not then. And I was like, fucking bastards, man, know what I mean? And then they started the motor back up again. I just pulled the blade out and that fucking turn this around and drive to where I'm telling you to go to, and they turned the motor around. On the way there, like, I could hear like a beeper or something, and I was like, I thought the motor had a tracker in it, and I was like, you just get fucking trackers in here, and I'm pure cutting all the seat open and cutting the back of the seats open, because it turned out in court that one of them tried to activate a fucking panic alarm or a silent alarm,
Right.
but I definitely heard a beeping. I definitely heard it. And fucking what ended up happening was we got to where my pal lived. I was telling them where to drive, right? And see, when we go into my pal's street, it's kind of it's very narrow. They've been remodelled now, right? But back then they were narrow as fuck, and it was one of the ones, two motors couldn't drive down the same time. You'd need to reverse out and all that shit. And fucking my pal's street's a dead end street. You need to turn around to get back out it and all. And the police were looking for somebody and fun
You
me.
just happened to be there?
Aye, looking for somebody
Really?
and fun me. Like, it's happening. It's stupid.
Fucking hell.
Aye, man. So fucking they two just jumped out the motor and just ran up to the coppers, and I'm just sitting like, uh-oh, know what I mean? Fuck.
What did you do? Did you run?
No, I just sat there.
Why?
What was I going to do?
You just kind of like, that's me cock kind of thing?
No, I don't know, there was no way. What was I going to do? I don't know. I don't really know. I'd never considered trying to get away. I was just sitting there like, for a drink, for a piss and vinegar, didn't give a fuck.
Aye.
No, I mean, I think I secretly wanted the jail, to be honest with you, mate.
Just that kind of self-destruct mode kind of thing, just on the warpath.
Aye, like, just no giving a fuck, know what I mean? Ended up, so I went to Berlin, went to Glasgow Sheriff Court, went to Berlin, but because I was only 15, they couldn't keep me there, because you have to be 16 or up to go to an SPS. And I went to Long Regend for a week, and then after a week I went to Kerlaw Secure Unit for a year, but I got took to court. I was charged with abduction and I got 4 years for that, so I was like 15.
Really?
When
Aye.
I got
LTP right away. So back then, was it the 2 year you done back then?
No, it was 2 year. Aye, if you got parole.
Oh, so it's 2 year 8. So because I remember it used
I
to
done
be
more than
you got
that,
half.
but because I had like days added on, and I got a consecutive for absconding.
I know. How did you abscond?
That's a weird one. So when I was in Kerlaw, I was just a fucking, I was always fighting with somebody, man, always. And if I wasn't fighting with somebody, I was thinking about how to fucking fight with them, know what I mean? I was just like what I'm saying about my temper and the trauma and trying to come across like you're indestructible when inside you're already destroyed kind of thing. So it was all about trying to put myself across like, you hit me, I can do something 10 times worse. And I don't mean that towards you. I meant like, there's nothing you can do that can do anything to me.
No, it's not
and
been done
see if
already.
there is, I'm going to do it back to 100 times worse. It was just the mentality. And I think that is a common mentality amongst a lot of young males in our country. And well, not just here, but obviously I'm keeping it in the Scottish context, and you know what I mean? But fucking the staff members would say things like, you wouldn't be the big man up in Pullman. And I was like, fucking put me in for a move in. And they're like, you'll not go through it. But the Scottish office came down to the Kerlaw, and I says, I want to move to Pullman. And they says, some of them were trying to talk me out, but I heard my key worker, I heard them saying, this place is too soft for him. That's what he said, it was. And I was just like, no, what, fuck this then. So I had asked them, can I see my gran? Can I go and visit my gran before I go to Pullman? And they said, aye, right. So I'd spoke to my brother and my cousin that night on the phone, and they had get set about half fucking some scheme, can't mind, right. And they'd caught me a few times, these ones, right. Nothing major, but I was lucky. I only got like 4 stitches. Normally it's a one-way ticket to intensive care with these ones, because there's always millions of them, right. And I was like, my brother here, so I'm coming up there tomorrow, make sure you're in, blah blah blah, right. So funnily enough, what they done was they booked a visit for me and 2 workers for Kerlaw to go up and get shown round Pullman. I don't know if they were trying to turn me on or turn me off, right, but I think either way that was the purpose of this visit, right. So we went up to Parliament, shown round the whole jail, and then fucking we drove down to Cambuslang, right? And went into it. It was it was actually my dad's sister's house, but my gran was staying there full time, right? Because she had lost her husband and all that, helped with the veins, all that shit. And I went up and with these two workers, and I says to my brother, I says, I'm got a kid on, I'm going to the toilet, that's your signal to walk out behind me. Don't do it straight away, but it's got to look obvious, right? And sitting there kidding on about 20 minutes or something into it, 15 minutes, I thought, yeah, I'm going to do a piss. And I just got up and walked out the house, my brother followed us. And we went to another area of Cambuslang where we had a lot of friends, and we were just sitting. We walked back up to the area I'd absconded for, which is where I'm from, and we were up at my pal's house. We were just sitting, fucking drinking, taking buckets, all that shit, right? So me and my pal started walking down to, you're fairly halfway.
Aye.
So that's where he's fair, right? So
Aye.
he stays down halfway, right? We're walking through the park. Me, him, his girlfriend and his girlfriend's pal, right? Walking through the park, come back down to halfway. And it's getting dark, right? This is like November 1998, so it's getting dark early, but I'm looking up towards where I stay, and I can see a searchlight. And I'm like, that's a bit weird.
Like for like a helicopter or something?
Aye, right. Gets to halfway, my pal's house. My dad's no in, he's fucking locked us out or something. So he kicked his own veranda door in to get in the living room, right? He let us in. So we're sitting, man, I'm just sitting boozing, but I'm looking at, see the back close window? The chopper's above halfway now. And I'm looking, man, and I'm going, no, I would never in a month of fucking Sundays ever thought that was causing me, right? So, sitting in my pal's house, his dad's up, turning up, man, we're just sitting, just fucking, I was just sitting boozing, cans and that, right? And I could have sworn I heard the crackle of a walkie-talkie, right? And I was like, nah, thinking, you always think it's no what it is, right?
Aye,
and
aye.
then I've heard buff, right? And my pal's dad's get up to fucking open the door, and it's one of the big long hallways, right? See, like a big kind of long one. And I swear, I couldn't see who was at this door. I could just see him, right? And see the way he reacted, man. I was like, what the fuck? They're like, don't fucking move. Stand there, not, right? So one of his legs, he went down in one leg, you know. He got a fright, right? And I'm glad it was him, not me, right? Because fucking, they're like, fucking name everybody in the house, blah, 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 right? So he's saying his name, his other son was there, right? And the lassies, and then he said my name. They're like, tell Kris McPherson to come to the door. And I came to the door and they're like, turn round, walk back your way, fucking don't move your hands off you, all that shit, right? They had like fucking, see like all that mad black riot shit, that, like a fucking Batman suit, stormtrooper shit and all that. But my pal looked out the window, it's like the street goes like that, like a kind of long U shape. He's like, ah, Kris, they've hang me daft the two sides of the street. They're holding shields against the windows. They've got guns and everything. Swear to God, mate. I shit my pants, mate. See, if I wasn't drinking, I think I'd have been like, I would have been, mate. Because see, when they put me in the van, they put me in a fucking stress position. Not they made me lie in with my head like away down here
between your legs,
and my hands behind my head and all that, like a fucking Gitmo detainee or something, man.
Fucking hell, man.
And see, when they got us to the police station down Heath Road, they just opened the van and there was just hundreds of coppers all standing there. I mean, hundreds.
Really? Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? I ended up, see, after that, right, I get time added on for that, right? But see, when I phoned Kerlaw after that to talk to them, sometimes I'd be in the digger in Parliament and I'd just begin through my phone book. Who can I phone today? A couple of times I'd phone them and they said that because of the fact that I had been in for an abduction with the social workers, and because the way I behaved in there, he says, we thought you were going to really hurt somebody. He says, and they actually said they thought it was my girlfriend, but don't know what they thought that for.
What was your girlfriend with that you were going to abduct?
Because she dumped me and fucked off with my kid, and I was like, I've got bigger fish to fry, no offence. Like, I'm surprised it is, but he says everybody who was on leave in that police station get told your leave's cancelled till you get him, and I get caught that night. And see, the funny thing is, when I was in Berlin the next day getting processed, see the guy, know how you're going to be room, you any enemies, you any fucking, know what I mean? He's like, where you from? And I told him, and he's like, I was up there last night, man, I was a helicopter out, no? I was like, that was for me. And he says, what? He's like, what was it? No, I was like, well, it fucking must have been.
That's insanity, man.
It is, mate, and I couldn't imagine seeing a fucking... My gran says, did they send this many cops to arrest Capone? Because see the amount of them, they were... Mantis died fucking four flares off the ground, right? And see our toilet window, it's like that fucking size. And they're like, did they go out this window not? Mantis like, that's too fucking fat to go out that window, you fucking nuts. Like, and I had a fell off a drain pipe or something. Just walked right out the front door. I didn't
Did they notice at the time, or did you not even know?
No, what?
Like, did they notice that you'd walked out, or did you even just...
No, I think what happened was when the folk, like, he's taking a bit long
So
in
they
there.
didn't realise you walked out the door?
No, they didn't even know it was that quiet, man. It just...
Really? Aye, just
door
stuck
didn't even make a sound when I opened it. Didn't even creak once.
Fucking hell, man. That's insanity, man. It's like, it's probably the fact they've had their leave cancelled. They're like, alright, we're out to get this cunt, man. But...
I know, but you know what, man, at the end of the day, like... not going to knock them for it because they had to do it and I had to be off the street, do you know what I mean? Because obviously if the guys that had said about my brother and my cousin, if we'd have walked into one of them and it could have been me to get done in, I could have get fucking murdered.
I know.
And then they're like, what did you let him? There could have been a big inquiry.
Yeah,
like,
there would have been.
You've had him in your custody, he's absconded and now he fucking turned up dead.
See, when you were at Carelaw, because I think right now there's an inquiry into Carelaw and like how the staff treated what do you call them, the children? No, the inmate. You wouldn't call them,
well,
the children.
because you're a child. I was called a CYP, Section 208.
Okay.
It's a convicted young person. So see, like, if you were fucking 13 and you killed somebody or you done something that you would have to go to jail for, that's what you would be. It's like you're underage offender, innit? Before you hit the YOs.
Right.
I've heard about all this, but as far as I'm led to believe, right, I never seen any of this going on, and I've heard wee whispers, but it's all been after it. And there's two parts to Carelaw when I was there. There was the secure unit, which had bars on the windows and a fucking fence in it that you couldn't climb, razor wire, whatever, and every door's locked. There's no two doors open at one time.
Right.
As far as I'm led to believe, this was going on down the open bit, where they could just walk right out. Some cunt could sneak in your fucking room at night if you wanted.
Oh, really?
But that was for all guys doing like... So see, like, your mum put you in a home or something, that was like for that, or you kept running away.
After parents or something?
Or you kept running away for another home you would be put in here, but no, I was in the secure bit, and I had a couple of times I'd like know how when you get there, you ever had a cart in the jail? Aye, right. See, in there, I'd had a few in there. My first one, in fact, was in there, and I was screaming because I was fighting with this boy. I whacked him with a bar of soap and a sock, right? I thought the three of them were got to say about me, but just like, nah, mate, you're getting sparked out, man, because it was him I had the issue with, right? And they've ended up kind of hanging us and all that, but that's the only kind of, if you want to call that abuse, that I ever experienced of staff.
Okay.
And I'm not going to sit and go, well, hold on a minute. If I work in a home, say a secure unit, and I see you go stabbing a child, what am I meant to do? Like, it's not like they were doing it to me and then batting me with truncheons and jumping on my head. They were just putting wrist locks on me so that I couldn't hurt anybody, which is...
I know, it's just fair enough, but I'm not too sure if the clarity is like sexual abuse and that.
It wasn't even just
there's probably cases it's happened, but...
And do you know what, see, and I've always said this, see, these kind of institutions would be like, if you were that way inclined, you target kids, then why would... I imagine some of them would even want jobs in these kind of places, right? Because maybe somebody's not going to... They've not got a mum and dad to speak up or whatever, they've got a lot of free time in their hands, whatever, so you need to kind of consider the fact that maybe there's some substance to these allegations, do you know what I mean?
Definitely, if you're that, as you say, that way inclined, that's your ideal. It's almost like a petting zoo.
Well, think about it, it's what I said to my pal. I said, if everybody that's been in out of jail a long time has all got a certain pattern of offending, right? Now, if you're into hurting kids, where are you going to go to achieve that? You've got to be going to places where there's kids, whether it's a school, fucking Disneyland, whatever. I wouldn't even go to Disneyland, mate. I think it just something alright about it. Something alright about like
the history with Disney and all that kind of stuff.
No, because I grew up watching Disney, but what I mean is, like, it's just took a dark turn, and I'm sure that a couple of years ago I read the FBI had arrested, I don't know, maybe, I don't want to say the exact number or whatever in case, like, I'm it's like, oh, you've not done your research. Nah, I remember seeing it. They caught a good, there was more than enough for me to be concerned. It wasn't one person, know what I mean? So think about it.
So what was that? People
What,
working in
at Disney
Disneyland?
aye, in Florida, aye.
And what, were they part of like a ring or something?
Aye, it was
Really?
FBI caught them all, aye.
Fucking
It was a couple
hell.
of years back, mate. That's what
See,
I'm saying,
you
man.
hear that bit, and that's the kind of stuff, and you're like, as you say, it's like, it almost doesn't surprise you, because it's like, as it's coming to light, all these, look at like Hollywood and all that kind of stuff, and it's no new allegations, it's old allegations, it's finally just, it's
too
reaching the
big to
public.
fail. Too big to fail. It's like the banks I know with the HSBC a couple of years back. They were fucking doing. I don't know if you've heard of correspondent banking.
No.
So it's basically like if you're banned for trading in America or Britain, you basically get another entity open an account in that country, but in their name for you to do business.
Right.
So like a middleman. So.
Okay.
The cartels were doing it, fucking Libya was doing it, Iran, all these banned entities were banned for banking in the US, but they had all these means and ways of doing it, and basically HSBC was the biggest one. I think, I'm sure they were, I've got the report in my house, I read it in jail actually. I used to get all these weird things printed off, and because it's part of criminology, it's white collar crime it comes under,
Okay.
right? So the report was called Too Big to Fail, and it was basically under the Obama administration, they got like a fucking £12 billion fine or something, and that was like a week's fucking turnover to them or something. It was just like it's almost like if we were to hit them the way we should by the book, the banking system's going to fucking collapse. So what do we do? What do we do on it?
Try and make an example, but as you say, not as much an example that doesn't absolutely
I wreck the
decimate
planet.
it.
You know
So
what I
if
mean?
they look to say, look, we're doing, we're doing just enough to kind of keep people off our back.
It's
We're
just
not doing enough to actually collapse the system that's set in
does
place.
man not and all that, man. 'Cause it's like it was like there was these three guys I was in Parliament with years ago, right? And they were off affluent families, but they beat a boy to death, and they got 4 years each, and people were going after them, not saying, see, if that was 3 boys for Poso, they'll be doing life. Know what I mean? So how do you justify that? It's like, no what? See, because you've got a good Monday, I'm not going to give you a big sentence, but see, if you've not got a good Monday and your life's shite, I'm just going to hit you with the fucking full what?
Punishing people for their background, their environments, and where they're from as well. If you look at that, it's maybe a bit different. Like with the exam results, I think it was during COVID, they were trying to base people on like the catchment areas and that, and they were trying to judge their exam results, and you're like, you can't take that, or what schools it was, and like the average score per school, but the poorer schools are obviously going to have a lower average score, and they were trying to base it off that, and there was a big uproar.
Never on, mate. It's not.
But see, to be honest, that happens all throughout society, but that's the only time when they're actually blatant and open about it. But that just shows you the kind of, how can you think that's a good idea? In your head to you, that's a great idea. Whoever's decided this has thought this is a good idea. But when you look at it, you're like, that's fucking bonkers.
Do you know what? See what you're saying there about great ideas and all this, right? See, when I'm looking, I don't know if you know this, right? So see the Scottish Prison Service bring out a document every couple of years. It's called the Corporate Plan.
Right.
And it's basically there, it's all these big bubble charts, flow charts, pie charts, fucking donuts, everything, right? These big fancy layouts. But it's always like, how do we see rehabilitation for this quarter, blah, 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 right? Now, I remember the first time I ever seen one of them, right? So it was Corporate Plan 2014 to 2017, right? And I'd got this in 2017 when I was graduating. And I'd actually wanted to specialise in like offender profiling and all that. But then in the last year of my degree, I discovered prison rehabilitation, desistance for crime, shit that fit me like a fucking glove, because I'm living what they're writing about. And so I was like to the education manager, I got to print me all these documents so that it's research, right? There's nothing better than reading the research of the person that you're trying to kind of like delve into. And it was all this, we're going to embed desistance at the heart of purposeful activity. So in other words, work, education, everything's got to be about desistance. But then see, by the time, and nobody had heard it, I hadn't even heard it, and I was doing a fucking degree. And I would go about my hall and see if the SPS were saying they were going to roll this out and they were going to roll that out. I would go about asking people about it and asking their views about it, what they think and all that, and nobody had ever fucking heard it. So you need to. Then the next one comes out, right, and it was, we are going to target serious and organised crime groups. In other words, because there was a lot of high profile cases for maybe 2017 onwards, right, and all these guys are all coming into jail. So that's like, we can all start fucking gathering intel to feed back out there to back in here and all this shit. So I'm sitting going, oh, what happened with the desistance? And then now I've read the latest one, and it's trauma-informed practices, and I'm like, what happened with the desistance? Do you know, give a fuck about it? Do you know care? Because trauma-informed practices are definitely, I'm not a trauma scholar, right, but are definitely worth looking into, you know, because of the amount, the high instance of people in jail who have these kind of factors in their background, right? But you try and go into shots, talk to a guy who's 41-year-old that's been in jail for 15 years doing a lifer, you seriously think you'll maybe get one guy, right, which is not enough to sustain it, but nobody's got to talk to you about their traumas, man. It's that ship sailed. I think that desistance should be in the adult jails. Desistance, it's about trying to manage who you are and the way you are now, as opposed to fucking, let's all sit round the table and talk about, you're more kicking the shit out you, and you're sitting in a group of fucking guys that maybe get worse shit happening to them, or maybe just as bad or not as bad. So, mate, they're pissing against the wind, man. What they need to do is, I think, is trauma informed at the YO level, the care home level, and the female institutions, and desistance in the male adults, because I don't think, I'm just saying it for my own personal background, my own experiences and research that and being on the ground in prison, know somebody who just went to uni for fucking 5 years and read loads of books.
Yeah, somebody with lived in
I've
experience.
done the theory and the practical, if you want to look at it that way. So nobody's got to talk to you about their aces and their traumas. Nobody's got to talk. You'll maybe get one guy who's just an open book, but like myself, no giving a fuck, just tell you anyway, you know what I mean? But a lot of people in jail, well, I can only speak for the males, right? Nah, it's not going to work. Desistance, because desistance is about how do I stop committing crime? How do I, what enables me to stop committing crime? How do I stop seeing myself as a prisoner, an offender, a criminal, and start seeing myself as a podcaster, a father, a fucking husband, an employee, positive pro-social roles, as opposed to prisoner, inmate, fucking drug dealer, knife carrier, gangster, whatever you want to call it, know what I mean? So I just think they're paying lip service, mate. I really do.
That's exactly that. It's a plaster or a fucking slash mark in it, man.
Aye, exactly. And then taking the plaster, I'm going, how's that no healed?
I know.
It just like, I think maybe it's to justify their funding. I don't know, because
I think it maybe is. It's
think
just
about it, right?
thing.
You ever heard of a KPI, key performance indicator? So it's basically, our jails have all got these things, right? Our jails are run like businesses now, managerialism it's called, right? So it's basically like, how effective are we at catching phones? Why have you got a KPI for catching phones? Why have you not got a KPI for how the fuck phones are even getting into the jail? How have you got a KPI for how many MDTs somebody's failed? A mandatory drug test, for the viewers maybe don't know what an MDT is. So a mandatory drug test in jail, you've got a KPI for how many people failed them. How have you not got one for how the volume of drugs getting into prison and how they're getting into prison or whatever? It's like, it's about how well they're doing, not about how well you're doing. Do you get me? It's like, we're so effective. Or
ticking exercise, innit?
Assaults are down 40%, and fuck off, man.
Aye, I know, it's just bonkers.
It's mad, it's nonsense, mate.
It's just a box ticking exercise, isn't it, man? It's to show like, we're dealing with the problem, but they're not. But it's just to kind of show that, because do you think they just, in their heads, they just don't have any solutions, or maybe they're just,
do you know what I think
not
it is,
applying
mate?
themselves to try and find the
You know
correct
what
ones?
I think maybe it could be? Do you know what? I'm not even going to kid on, right, that I know or whatever. I can only tell you what I think and what I feel, and from my own experience, my own reading, whatever, right? And I think that, see, this kind of lived experience narrative, I think that could probably do more for reform than they ever could or hope to achieve, because I think somebody might have said this to me, like, so I'm looking into volunteering for a ex-offender charity. It was started by ex-offenders and it's run by ex-offenders, and this guy's he's an ex-con, right, and he goes up to speak to, he does lectures, and one of them was see the SPS college. He speaks to the new recruits,
Right, does he?
about the new prison officers, and it's all about how do you do your job effectively, kinda, like he's not there to tell him how to do a job, but what he means is about how your interpersonal relationships with the people that you're locking up, you know what I mean? And I do think he could be onto something, because it's what I say. I always say this as well. Change, you have to want change. If you're still running about mental, carrying weapons, taking gear, drinking, whatever it is you're doing that's making you do this shit, you have to want to change before you can stop all that. Do you know what I mean? You have to be ready. Do you know what I mean? And I just think that I don't know if they're doing it intentionally. I don't want to go out as saying the SPS are intentionally no enabling reform, but they're, mate.
Nah, they're not the people that say it.
The reoffending rate speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Aye.
It's been constant for fucking prisons were built 200-300 years ago.
Aye.
It's been almost been constant.
As you say, it's a business. It serves them for people to be coming in and out. So it's like, no, it doesn't really help the business grow or thrive or continue to trade as such if the consumer, the customers, are not coming back.
Well, I said this in my thesis, right? I said, if you want to think of prison as a business, what's the profit? Reoffending's the profit. Because without reoffending, prisons couldn't stay open. Prisons, it couldn't sustain itself, because you go to any prison in Scotland, right, and shout 100 people out. Yeah, I've been done time before. Many of them drink alcohol, say aye.
Nah, the majority.
Aye, right. So what's going on, man? Know what I mean? And it's not a one size fits all either. This is what I think they're doing wrong. And all they're trying to come up with all these one size fits all approach. Doesn't work like that. There's no two people the same. There'll be similarities, but they're not the same.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So this is what I'm saying. I know about this trauma informed as opposed to desistance. Like the fact that it's not being rolled out, desistance in some regard in the penal estate, to me is just mind-boggling. It really is, especially when they've been talking about it fucking 10 years ago or whatever, 8 years ago, whatever it was, know what I mean? And I'm just like, are they really serious about it? Because it's what I seen someday. This is the slogan on the corporate plan. This is the SPS slogan, right? Changing, no, what is it? Changing narratives, transforming lives or something. Whose fucking lives you transforming, mate? It's on every corporate plan they bring out, and it's pure. It's a soundbite that means nothing to them. They're more interested in running this, what they see as a business model. Prison is a business to them, and the reoffending's keeping it sustained as far as I'm concerned, man. Know what I mean?
100%, mate. We must interrupt this podcast for a breaking announcement. There has been numerous reports in the area of a beauty bomb ready to glow up. And it's going to blow away you beauty therapists one appointment at a time. Why? Do you conduct business correspondence with clients via DMs? Are you sick of late cancellations costing you money? Do you just wish you could provide your service without worrying if the client has the cash at hand? Oh, I need to go to the bank. Well, I have a solution to your confusion. Glow Out is a service that aims to alleviate the stress involved between a client and the technician booking their appointments. Glow Out makes it easy for clients to see appointments, to book them and to pay. It takes deposits and it gets late cancellation fees, which means you won't lose out on any money. Clients can pay by card or using Apple Pay. Glow Out is also partnered with payment processor Stripe. Glow Out also helps you manage your bookings easily by using your calendar. The busier you get, the more stressful it is to keep track of who you've actually got coming in and when. Glow Out will help you do that. that. On Glow Out, you'll also be able to show off your portfolio, showing off your previous work so clients can check out what you've done in the past. It will also be implementing a feature in the very, very near to be future which will connect to your Instagram profile page. You will also be featured on the Glow Out website. You'll be visible to potential clients in the local area. You'll also have access to your own admin panel where you can see your account balance, generate reports, and turn your hobby into a business. Glow Out is basically a Just Eat for beauty appointments. Can't beat the convenience, can you? The mobile app for iOS and Android is coming soon. But in the meantime, for $5.99 a month, you will have access to all these features. But if you sign up using Fivo promo code, you will get the first 3 months free. You can't lack that for a bargain, can you? Give your business the glow up. It needs to blow up. And glow up before you glow out. So see, leading on for that, there was a period in your life where I think it was, I don't know if it was the same sentence or during a period of incarceration, you found yourself in Carstairs. Can you just take us through that part of your life?
So that was when I was doing the sentence for abducting the social workers.
Right, okay.
And the longer, I was just digging my own grave in Pullman, right? And I would say things to, I would always get referred to mental health, right? Because I would just dead off shit in my cell, like make a fucking Ouija board or something, because I knew that when the screws came in and seen that, they would be like, what the fuck's this? Oh, hit the panic button. No, the actual panic button, but start making phone calls, he's up there.
Aye.
And I would just be lying back in my bed like, you fucking dafties.
So it was just almost like kind of psychological warfare as such?
Aye, right, because they would do things to me like, so because of that absconding, I was on what is called a strict escapee. So it's like kind of it's like a microcosm of being an ACAT. Everywhere you go, there's a book. It has to be logged.
And you need to get a screw, it comes with you everywhere.
Aye, right, aye. So I was on that, and like I remember in the summer, the full hall would be going out to play football, and I'd be kept in on it. And they were doing it out of badness, because they were basically saying like they'd let me out a couple of times before, but then they would just take it off me like willy-nilly, and I would just start like acting up and all that. But I would just say pure. But see, some of the things I was saying to these doctors was for real. Like I would say things like, so say they'd go, so I'd go, that screw 5-0 just fucking took my dinner, didn't help me for my dinner, whatever. I'd be like, I'd love to kill him, not. And she would go like, why? And I'd be like, what do you mean why? He's fucking it comes from a denial of being you're powerless. Do you get me? I think, and everything else that was going on. But I remember saying things to like this member of staff and that member of staff. I would do anything to hurt him, and I didn't mean it at the time. But what ended up happening was, I went down to the surgery one day, and they says to me, they brought up Carstairs, right? And my light went on straight away, and I'm thinking, what, they're just bringing that up out the blue for? I think it was to test my reaction. And then later on that week, there was these other doctors coming in, but fae there, and I was like straight away, they'll take me up there or something. But I thought I'll get out early. I thought, like, know how we've all got this
insanity thing, kind
aye, right, and then you'll just get let out and that'll be you, blah blah blah. I ended up doing longer, but
just because you went to Carstairs?
No, by the time I went back to Pullman, because
Right.
I'd time added on and all that kind of shit. I was meant to get out in July, and I didn't get till October.
Okay.
My lib date was July.
So what happened when you found out you were got to Carstairs?
Nothing, just they took
Did they
me.
just turn up and you've got to Carstairs?
No. So what happened was, so say on the Monday, they told me, you're gone on the Friday at Carstairs, and I was like, right, cool. And it was like high fives, because let's see like in Pullman, man, like that's not a brass neck, that's like
Did it just seem like an ordinary transfer? Feel as if I was going to like Ballina.
Oh, right.
Carstairs.
So see, back then, right, this is the year 2000, so back then you didn't have G4S and all that shit. It was the screws for the jail. They would just get a couple of screws for the jail who weren't in their own post.
Right.
They'd say, yeah, we've
Like
got
runners as such.
aye, right, you're on this escort, and it was basically 3 screws and a nurse just took me in a van. And the funny thing is, right, see, when I went in, it's all adults, but I'm the only young offender there.
What age were you?
18, well, not even 18, it was the week before I turned 18.
Right.
And I'm sitting in the ward, know how in the jails it's called the hall, well, in there it's called a ward, and I'm sitting there and another SPS van pulls up and I'm looking, I'm going, this must be another, it was my pal for Postal.
Where was he coming from?
Somewhere else.
Really,
he actually came for, I think he came for an NHS ward or something,
right.
or he came for Berlin, young offenders, and I had been off through a law employment with this boy, and then he's turned up and I'm like, fucking hell, man. But he left before me, but that was, I don't think I realised the severity of what was going on by being sent there. Obviously with the type of people that are there, know what I mean? I don't think I would have the same reaction that I had then. I was just gone through the motions. It was just another
laxy daisy about it, just like another day.
Like it's just going over my head, and I think that I'm like, there was a guy in there that was in for tossing a couple of vagrants in the Clyde, 2 or 3 of them, drowned them.
Really?
Aye.
So see, when you got there, what was the moment that you realised, wait a minute, this isn't jail, this is something a bit more extreme in a different direction?
I always knew what it was. I didn't...
was there any incident that occurred to you like, wow, man, it just kind of...
No, I just knew I had to get fucking out of it.
The minute you got there?
I was begging to go back to the jail,
What
man.
was it you seen you got there? What was it like when you actually stepped onto a ward? Like, right, this is going to be like... Did you have a room or you on a ward?
No, you have
was it designed like a jail?
It's
Is it like, is there
no,
like rooms,
see,
or is it
do you know
like
what
a
it looks
hospital?
like? It looks like to me it looks like a wee hamlet with a fucking fender in it. It looks weird.
What do you mean like a hamlet?
Like a wee quaint village and tucked away somewhere.
So no like a jail, mate? It's
No,
more
it
like a
doesn't.
kind of like a
The only
secure...
thing you would know how this is a secure institution is the fence.
Right.
And the fucking, they've got an old World War II alarm. See, like the air raid alarm, they've got that as they test that every Monday, I think.
Oh, really?
Well, they did when I was there, and when this thing goes off, you can hear it for about fucking 100 miles. If that goes off, and it's not a test, lock your doors, man. Some Michael Myers types escaped.
Really,
Aye, that's what it's for, aye, man. It's mad. There's some serious, like, what it's for. Don't want to use the term criminally insane because it's not really. I don't know if that's a media term, but this place is for people who are a lot of them, or most of them, committed acts of violence out of their mind.
Okay, is that the same place that Robert Monin that escaped from, innit?
Well, I actually knew him. Aye, he was.
But was he there when you went there?
No. So when I was in shots, I got put on the violence prevention programme, and they put him on the same group as me. So like, we were all just sitting in a big horseshoe, and like he'd just be sitting where you are.
Oh, right, aye.
Ah, scumbag. I don't like him, man.
No.
Something creepy about him.
Yeah, I've heard it's... what was the other guy? What was his co-accused?
Tam McCulloch.
Was it Tam McCulloch? Because I remember one of the screws saying they worked in Peter Heaton was there, and he says he could just do black eyes. His eyes were just dead, didn't have colour. Just his eyes like black eyes.
I met him a couple of times in education and shots, but I didn't know who he was at the time. It was somebody that told me. Just quite unassuming. I think a lot of these people are very unassuming, and you don't realise the level of danger you're in until it's too late to do it.
That's probably how they managed to escape from there, because they were so unassuming.
Well, I don't think it was unassuming. I actually think what happened was they two were actually gay lovers, and they were plotting this escape. In Carstairs in the 70s, I don't even think it had a fence in it. I think all the security measures have been basically because of what they done. And like, I remember hearing about that as a child, like, because my gran was into true crime books and all that, and I used to read her books and all that, and I remember her talking about them and saying how what they'd done, and it was fucking horrendous, mate. And the funny thing is, right, when I went on that, I'd heard that Monin McCulloch, but I didn't know how they ended up in Carstairs. I just assumed, because obviously we're talking years before my dad was born around about the time they committed whatever they were in Carstairs for, like the mid to late 60s. And he'd walked into a school with a shotgun and held a classroom hostage, a school where he had a history with. and I think there was some abuse going on.
I think there was some sexual abuse. Like
Oh,
some
no,
of the
there
students.
was.
I remember reading it in a book.
Aye,
The
there
story of
was.
it. He shot one of the teachers, didn't he?
Aye, exactly, right. So listen to this, right. So this was the start of 2006, and he had been bussed in for whatever other jail he was in, right? And when we were on this group, the smoking ban had just come into law. So we're talking, say, March 2006 or something like that, right? And see that way you've been in the jail and you know something's about to kick off, whether it's a fucking riot, a big mass fight. You're just like that. It's like,
sense it.
You just feel something. Well, I walked into the group one day, right, and it was a Friday, and I just knew something was wrong, right? And I heard a couple of them talking about how what we're going to do if they don't let us smoke, because they smoked.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, we'll just down to it, whatever it was they were saying, right? So I'm like, anyway, that weekend passed, came back on the Monday, knowing the violence prevention programme, it was a screwing two psychologists who delivered it. And they used to do like a mood scan every morning, right? They'd go, are you red, or are you amber, or are you green, right? Try to, like a mood assessment, seeing what mood you're in that day, right? So every day we were on this course, the screwer, the psychologist would do this mood assessment. But see, on the Monday we went in, they didn't even do it. Now, Robert Moan, by this point, has changed his name to Jim Smith. So that was how the screws addressed him, was Jim. And we're sitting there, right? And I was expecting, because Porky and all that are on the group, right? And I'm thinking, this is all got to kick off here. Something's going to happen, right? Because in shots, right, man, they're going to sit and go, I take all our tobacco and probably the only enjoyment they've got, whatever, right? Know what I mean? And before I'm expecting the screw to say, are you fucking pink, green, yellow, whatever? And he goes right to that Robert Moan. Here, Jim's alright if we talk about what was in the paper at the weekend. But see, before the screw could even finish what he was saying, that Moan's just went right off him, man, right? And he's, I don't want to fucking talk about it. They've been writing lies about me for years. And I'm sitting thinking, writing lies about you for years, you fucking triple murderer, you fool, know what I mean? Right, and they make it all up. But see the way he responded to what the screw said, I just thought, is there something in that he didn't want us to talk about? And I said to this big guy next to me, Big Davey, I can't remember his face, but he was a sound boy, he was a lifer. And I says, tell me at the tea break, I says, did you see that in the paper about him? And he's like, aye, it was in this News of the World or the Sunday Mail, whatever the fuck. And I says, what was it saying? And he's like, fucking what you just said there, like the school wains and like trying to fondle them and all that in the class. And I was like, fucking scumbag. And see, this is a thing I know. And I seen somebody else saying this, say for talking sake, with coursework in a lot of jails, what they're doing is maybe slipping a guy like that into a high profile group, a high risk group, where it's maybe 10 guys that have been waiting to move on for or past their date, and maybe they've all got a bit of damage between them, maybe a couple of heavy hitters there,
right.
And they slip somebody like him in. It's like, you need to talk to him to move on.
It's a
and,
test.
And, aye, man.
Are you really rehabilitated?
Aye,
because it's the ultimate test, as I say. And it's because when you go to Castle Hunting and that, you know, maybe mixed in with the sex offenders, but he's a...
Well,
it's open up to a degree.
Some of them, you they're no easy to... Some are easy to spot.
Some fly under the radar, you know. Some of them they just look like, I know they say, what does a sex offender look like? But you just know. With some of them you just know. Aye, they just look fucking, they look like they've just walked off a Nightmare on Elm Street set or something, know what I mean? You're like, what? But I imagine in Castle Huntly they would go, they would probably just sit in their own groups, like, because when I went up there it was like, I was in is it Murray House it's called? Have you been up there? No.
Right, so I was up there in 2006 to 2007, 6 months I was there, and just party central, mate. It was, because I was getting like put under a bit of pressure because of my home leaves and that, because of the abduction thing, the Carstairs and all this pish, man. And I was going to risk management meetings all the time, and I was gone mad, because there was people coming up for shots 3 months after me and getting out before me, and my address and all that was all sorted, and it was all down to basically what I'm saying, my self-presentation, because one of them says they thought I have flat affect, and I knew what that was at the time. So flat affect is your outward emotional display, but I wasn't showing anything. And it was then that I really started catching on to how I was coming across to other people, because they're looking at it and seeing it as, you're dead inside, you're a psychopath.
Can't read you.
Aye, you're fucking, you don't care about other people. It's not that. I'm just trying to suss out, who the fuck are you and what do you want from me? And one of the funny thing is, right, 3 different institutions that I was in, a member of staff said to me, I think you're on the spectrum, Asperger's, right? I've never went and been assessed for it, but I'm sure one of the kind of things they're at is like, you're dead flat, or like outwardly, like you're kind of a flat tone, you don't smile a lot,
social interactions
you stare a lot, and you're just taking everything in, you're no mingling, see all that kind of thing. But funnily enough, my son's actually been tested for it, and this was before he was born. I don't know if there's a hereditary link or whatever. I'm not really trying to chase it up, but I do think it is quite, it's like in the criminal justice setting, right? They're looking at it through the criminal justice eyes. It's like offender, violence, I went into therapy for 2 years, right, with a psychoanalyst, and I said to her, you've answered questions in 2 years that the criminal justice system couldn't answer in 20 years. And she says, why do you think that is? And I says, because when I'm in a criminal justice setting, when I'm in a prison, if a psychologist has come to talk to me, they're already got a heads up, if you get me.
Aye.
They go and read every bit of paper they can find about you, and maybe ones they can't find, and then come and talk to you. So to me, you've already muddied the waters a wee bit, because I know for a fact, if I'd read my case stuff and hadn't met me, I would think the same. We're all human beings. A degree won't change that. Getting a degree at uni won't change the fact you're a human being. You just need to try and filter it. But I said to her, when you're coming to speak to me, you're coming through a clinical setting. You're meeting me outside. You don't know anything about me. You've no went and read fucking, oh, this guy done this guy done that, he was in here and he was in there and all that kind of shit. You're coming at it for the way every medical professional should come at it. And I think that's maybe one of the problems the new way of prisons is, when I first went to prison, if you had to speak to a psychologist, they go like kind of borrowed for the local authority. See every single fucking jail in Scotland has got it saying psychology department, and it's all young lassies fresh out of uni, some of them quite attractive, and I'm just like, what the fuck are it? What are they doing here? Like, what is going on? Do they think like, why are female psychologists overrepresented in our prison system? Is it because they think we'll open up more? Is it because there's just that many lassies doing psychology? I don't know, but it was fucking lot of shit, mate.
I partly put the female thing, didn't I? Obviously, maybe there's a lot of lassies doing psychology, but you think, men are more likely to open up to women, I think, because of that mother figure. When you look at like mothers, it's like the mothers, man, it's got loads more emotion.
What if you never had one, but? I
know, but maybe that's, if you see a woman, then does she fill that void? I've never had a mother figure. I
think I would be, I think I was extra guarded running the female psychologist as well, because it was like, I almost had a vision of him, right, or sitting in an office, right, the screws like that, send wee Jane down, he'll crumble, she's the nicest one out of them all, whatever, right. I just had mad thoughts going through my head like, I'm like, you fucking think so, aye? And they would hit out with all this pre-programmed kind of lingo, like, oh, we would love to have you on the course, and you can just tell that
it's pre-scripted, it's pre-prepared, as you say.
And I would just start kind of smiling, like thinking, yous are mad, know what I mean? Maybe if you just be up front and open, and I don't know.
Aye.
Know what I mean?
So see if we can go back a bit, see when we go back to your time in Carstairs, what was the wildest thing you ever experienced in there?
In Carstairs?
Carstairs, aye.
Getting carted and injected with Ligacto.
Why did that
happen? Me and another patient colluded in an attack on another one.
How did that occur? What was the reason behind it?
So this guy was he was Swedish,
right.
And one day we were sitting and he just gets brought into the ward. And there was a couple of guys for Postal in here at the time, and a boy for Nits Hall, and they were saying, Amy, don't fucking speak to him, he's a beast. He was done with a rape. That's how he was in Carstairs. He was in for a rape, right? And the guy, one of the Postal boys said to me, they knew him for Berlin. They seen him up in the surgery or something when he was coming down to Carstairs, right? So what ended up happening was, the guy would just walk around in circles, talking to his cell, gesturing and all that, and other days he would be sitting in a corner crying his eyes out, and just, you never got him the same day twice, in the same kind of presentation, 2 days in a row, if you get me. And all of a sudden, so say it's took him 2-3 months to go to trial, see by the time his trial started, he was walking about like fucking the Teflon Don. Like,
really?
And I'm only 18, right? And I'm just watching him and getting angrier, man. I'm like, I need to bring you down a couple of pegs, man. And he hadn't done anything to me, right? But one day I'm sitting, right? And so in this ward, there's all different rooms. So say there's a room like this and it's called the quiet room. And it's just all fucking couches right round the walls, right? I'm sitting in there. And he came in and he asked another patient in front of me, see if you stole a car in Sweden and you went to Scotland and stole a car, would you get the same sentence? Now, I had heard a rumour that he had a previous for a male rape in Sweden and got 4 years in a medical centre, a nut house, whatever. So when he came in, and I didn't put too much into it because I'd heard this rumour before he said this, but when he came into that room and said that, boom, I thought that's true. And then I was like, I'm smashing him, man, fuck it. And there was this other boy, kind of a bit like yourself, big, taller than me, right, but he was a bit how do I put it? He would talk like he was just a pure mad nutter, but I think he was just kind of trying to kind of.
Do you mean mad nutter as in like a pure mad nutter we would define as in the scheme, like up for a fight?
Aye, but he's the first one to run if it kicks off.
Okay,
Aye, like that, right? But he was in for self-harming and his arms were a fucking mess, man. It was one of the most horrible things I've ever seen in another human. And he was about a year older than me or something, right? So we're sitting up the back of the ward one day, right? And he's walking past that rapist. And I'm like, this boy, I'm like, fucking blah, blah, telling him what he said. And when he walked past, the boy I was talking to, that, you fucking beast or something, right? Something like that. And he turned around and he walked to her. Now, listen, I've met a lot of nutters in my day, right? And having he cracked a light, something about the way he said this just put chills down my spine, right? He walked to her and he leaned right into him and said, I'll peel the fucking skin from your body. And the way he said it was pure calm and level, and I just said, I was like, he's done this. He's comfortable around extreme violence, maybe even violence I've never seen myself. Like it's what you say, like the wee guy that's got his computer job and then meets a guy or a bird in a bar, takes him, hey, want a drink, mate? Before you know it, you're lying fucking
Your head's in the fridge.
Aye, right, exactly, mate, right? So that was just the image I had, and I was like, that to this boy, we need to bust him, man. So what ended up happening was they were playing bingo and all that, right? And I'm sitting hammering pool balls, just pure hitting them up and down the table, like basically wax screaming, fucking hurry up, because it was them man nothing, right? And I kept doing that. The boy, I was like, fucking hurry up, and he's going, I'm on a roll. He's pointing, he's winning bags of sweeties. No, that's what they do in there. They sit and play bingo and you win bottles of Coke and packets of fucking Haribos, not right. So, and the thing is, I know there's always a member of staff near you. You're never, the only time there's no a member of staff watching you is when you're in your bed, right? So it's not like you can go in a Peter, see like in Parliament, morning in Peter, you don't have to moan in the shower, you can't do that in there, right? So when the bingo's finished, the room's emptied, right? And I'm stoning, man, and I'm just fucking like that, just watching him everywhere he goes. And then there was only one other guy in that room. He was just sitting smoking, and he went in and sat down. And this was the guy who he'd said that to about if you stole a car in Sweden, the same guy, right? And as soon as he walked in there was no members of staff, and I just thought, right, fucking hurry up, you man. I've just walked in and two just attacked him, putting coffee tables over him, and swear to God, right, I got rugby tack because it's carpeted floors in there, right? And I had a carpet bomb that size on my face for getting rugby tackled, man.
Really?
Aye, man. And they're lying and tapping me, and they've got the locks on, right? Lock 1, lock 2, and all that shit, right? And one of them's got his fucking knee in the back of my head and all. And I've got my face pressed into the ground, and I'm looking out at him, and he was screaming like a woman. See the way it was high pitched, and I was trying to scream and laugh at the same time, and it just was a horrible, horrible sensation. Like then two complete.
Laughing whilst in pain.
Aye, right. It's just
unnatural for the human.
Aye, it's not like laugh. Oh, stop laughing. I'm gonna.
Right, laughing is associated with joy, but pain is the opposite end of that spectrum.
I was actually kicking the flare, like actual kicking the flare with my socks on. It was that sore, and what they were doing was flexing my wrist. I didn't know what they were doing at the time, but they were doing this, right? And it was so that the blood would still travel through my wrist, so I would still feel it.
So it wouldn't go numb?
Aye.
Right, yeah, aye.
Aye,
So
man.
you would feel the pain?
Aye.
What do you think the reason was that for? Can I teach you a lesson, don't do it again? That's just what's going to happen.
What they said to me the next day, so what ended up happening was, stabbed us with a fucking needle for a liquid cosh, and then next thing when that's kicked in, fucking carried like that to my cell, just flung
Were you
on.
unconscious?
No, I was drifting in with it.
So were you conscious, but you
I
were
woke
just
up-
immobile?
Aye, I was like jelly. If they'd have dropped me, I'd just flopped to the flare, mate.
How did that feel, that sensation? But
It was horrible. It was like, it was just a fucking, it wasn't like horrible, like I was seeing things and all. It was just, see the feeling that I had, like, it was like a mad electric feeling in my back, and I was just doing all this, and it was just weird, mate. And see, the funny thing is, but see the next day, right, about fucking 6 of them have come in my room, and they've all started hitting me with questions. Why did you do that? Were you hearing voices? Not? And one of them's going, I knew you were up to something last night. I could just tell. Blah, blah, blah. And I ended up, see when they were walking out the room, I done that. Here, what was that fucking shit you gave me last night? And they said they name it, and he's like, how? I thought, any more of that? Just to say, fuck you, man. But here, mate, I swear to God, mate, I couldn't write letters for about 2 weeks.
was that for the pain for getting your wrist bent back?
Aye, because you ever seen a Wayne's writing in crayon? Seen him try to write a letter, so you hold a pen like that. I was holding it like that, like a fist. I was holding it like a fist because it was just too sore, and I had to use like 3-line spacing and all that.
Really?
Well, it must have looked like a fucking ransom note.
Plus, well, you're writing it for Carstairs, cunts like that. You must be heavy dosed up to the gills, man. That's how he's writing.
Aye, well, maybe, but I got sent back to Parliament. They says like,
Right after that?
No. So,
Just eventually you get sent
basically,
back?
what they do is when they send you there, you have an assessment period. Which is like, say, 3-4 months, and then after it's like a big meeting. They delve into bit of your background and see, was there any history of this, any history of that, blah, 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 blah. Go and visit your family, ask them hundreds of shit, and then decide whether you're staying or gone. And they sent me back to Parliament. I was like, ye fucking hammer, I couldn't wait to get back, man.
I'd imagine that'd have been such a far cry. See, getting back to Parliament, as wild as Parliament is, when you're gone there, that's like
Aye.
going into the jungle, but once you go to Carstairs, that's
Aye.
like getting back to like,
Aye.
right, it's at least you know what you're
Aye.
getting there, I think,
Aye.
because I always imagine, see, going somewhere like Carstairs, there's a different level of unpredictability, because like,
they don't know what they're doing.
exactly, somebody could be sitting hearing voices and just attack you out of nowhere, and it's like, you
Exactly.
don't
What
know,
happened there?
but if you're in Parliament, then you're maybe like, right, you get wide with somebody, you're arguing,
Aye,
something
you know
happens
what to
that'll
expect.
cause something, but in there, it's another level of unpredictability.
The thing that happens is in their mind.
Aye.
It never happened.
I know.
They're
That's it.
bonkers.
That'd be crazy, man. That's just a different type of tense environment to be in.
This is it, innit, man? And I think to myself, like, I almost feel like, see, saying this, like, the week before, I had my 18th birthday in there. They gave me a cake.
Did they? Is that a good cake?
Well, I'd never had one in Parliament.
At least, I suppose, at least you got a cake, innit?
It was one of the female staff, she brought me a cake in. Maybe she felt sorry for us or
Maybe,
something.
mate. You will get people that's in places like that they have that level of empathy, that they
Aye.
feel sorry for people and feel sympathy for them.
Aye, therefore.
So see, there was a point when you were talking about you were in shots, and you were on like that course, and you mentioned the prisoner that you spoke about in one of your videos, Porky. Right. Who doesn't know who Porky is? He's probably one of the longest serving prisoners in the Scottish prison service. He's started off as, I think it was maybe a 15 year sentence. He's been in about 30 years. He was in the papers recently because he committed a murder in Glenorchy, I'm sure it was. And I was quite fascinated with this guy's story, man. I was like, because you hear about a lot of violence in jails, and you said it yourself, very seldom do you hear about murders. It's like people
so what's that generation hang up?
That doesn't really happen in here, and it's like when you see something like that and somebody that's capable of it, then you delve into this guy's history. So for the viewers, could you like delve into like your experiences with Porky?
Never had any bad experiences with him. Like, obviously, first place I'd ever came across him was in shots. Obviously, I didn't know anything about him. Other than the word on the street sort of thing, oh, wee Porky's coming down, who's that? Oh, he done this and he done that. You know what the jail's like, man. It's like word of mouth for that shit. But it was on the violence course. He had actually just got out the digger for stabbing the governor of Kilmarnock or something. Oh, it wasn't the governor of Kilmarnock, it was like fucking the head of security or something.
I think they couldn't went on to be the governor, didn't
Aye. He's just, I think nearly every jail he's been in, he's done something.
He took
half a
I've
chart
seen
something.
He took part in the hostage taking incident. I say took part. He was the guy taking hostages. I don't think it was accomplice by anybody. But it's like when you read about it.
It was him and somebody else.
Oh, was it him and somebody else?
Him and a boy. I think it was Jimmy Holland was his name.
Was it Jimmy Holland?
You heard of him?
Aye, that's him that wrote that Scottish Hard Bastards book.
Oh right, he wrote another book, Lost in Kell. You heard of that?
No, I've not heard of
Read that.
I've only read this because it was a book that was kind of about Pullman. What I know why, because he done that.
Is it not a guy on the front? It looks like fucking Charles Bronson, but with a fucking tartan hat.
I think he's got a claymore or not. But plus as well, there's a bit where he does it because he's been in probably every jail in Scotland, and he does it like a TripAdvisor. He'll rate it on its violence, and then he'll name it and be like, right, it's experience. Because I remember people at the windy shouting at each other and going like, this is Pullman's review, and they were reading out the reviews. But I remember reading it, and they would talk about like stories of people feel like maybe Edinburgh and all that kind of thing. And I remember there was a boy a few doors along from me in Pullman. He was from Edinburgh, and he knew people that was in the book, and it was just kind of interesting because some of the people you've heard in these stories, but I know it was essentially what it was, a book written about cons, about jails by a con in the jail. So it's like the kind of if people in the jail could buy books like for a library, this would be a bestseller. What I'm talking about.
Aye, therefore, man. I never knew Jimmy obviously, but I read that book and obviously like heard a lot about him because obviously the shit he's done through the jail and that. I think he might have passed away, but I'm not sure, don't quote me on that, but I think he passed away a few years back. But where else did I? So as I says, I was on the violence course with Porky. I think I came across him in a couple of other jails after that, but like it would be in, I was on the hot plate with him as well in Kilmarnock, so there was me, my pal Jerry and him. And he get moved for D Hall, I can't remember what it was for. Or even if it was for mental, but he's always gone between halls. Like he'd been in a hall for so long, then he would end up fighting or doing something mad, and then he'd go to the digger and then come up to the next one, and then just do the rounds, mate. It's pretty, I don't know, it just seems like a hopeless existence to me. See, just like being in the jail and just like you're getting to the stage where you're willing to take somebody's life in there because you don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. Like fuck's sake, like. And I remember when I seen that I think that murder happened after I'd got out. Now, when I was in Kilmarnock, I think it was 2 weeks before I got out, Porky had been moved to the Seg for met a slat a guy's throat. And I'm sitting thinking to myself, and I knew the guy he done it to as well, and I'm like, fucking hell, man, like. And I remember saying this to see cause of all the legal highs going about now. I remember saying that to this professor. I says, there's got to be a murder in here. 100%, man. And see, the funny thing is, since all these kind of legal highs have started really taking over our systems, I don't know what it's like now, obviously, but like when I was in there, like they've had like 3 or 4 murders now. There was a guy who I got his cell in shots. I think he was murdered in Glenorchy the year I got out. So that's like their second one in 2 years or something.
Really, aye?
Aye, man, aye.
Because I noticed that when I went into Berlin, man, it's like it seemed like there was a lot more violence. It was a lot more unhinged. It was a lot more unpredictable. It was that way you're kind of. It was a lot more tension than there usually was.
And Berlin.
Aye, Berlin. That's when. That's the last time I was in 2021. It was. And,
was it?
That's when, because I hadn't been in when Spice was like that time before that. It was like 2016, so Spice wasn't really about.
Aye.
But then when I went in, it was everywhere, and it was pure.
Worst time
I had pure
ever.
anxiety, man. It was that way. You didn't know. It was so unpredictable. You didn't know what was going to happen.
Aye, exactly,
At any given
mate.
moment.
Exactly, mate. And I've seen like mad shit happen out it. Like guys, so say like I'm 2 cells along for you, and you're sitting taking that shit all day, but I don't touch it, and then you're in your cell thinking I've shouted on you, and I will fucking see in the morning and all that. And I've seen a guy doing that. For somebody was shouting on him for the other side of the hall, and the whole hall heard them. Oh fuck it, you wait, I got opened up tomorrow or not, and I'm lying thinking surely he's heard him. Because I knew the other guy didn't take legal, but the other one did. And next thing, man, the guys woke up with him fucking setting about him or trying to stab him in the morning. Aye, man. And I was like, I ended up saying to him, did you not hear him shouting? He's like, no. I says, I fucking, I thought the full hall heard him, part for you.
Fucking hell,
Fuck's
man.
it. Know what I mean? It just shows you, doesn't it? Guy that is never even had any problems with, any issues in the past, no historical stuff. One's for Greenock, one's for Glasgow. And he's like, yeah. Fucking, wait, you shout at me there, and nobody's even answering him back, and then he's shouting, I will see tomorrow, as if he's dialoguing with him. Lying there like that.
Aye, what is going on here, man?
Aye, know what I mean? Seen cunts just killing her and everything, mate, man, and flapping on the flare like a fish, and
Aye, just wiping people out.
it's like
mentally.
like The Exorcist,
Aye.
like lying pure spewing everywhere, and it's just horrendous, man. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. And I see on YouTube and that and all, like see like videos out of American jails, and it's guys all getting in cells and taking it, and I'm just like, you're a sitting duck, man. What? How's that even a buzz? How's that even a buzz, mate? You're just killing yourself.
I think it's escaping the reality, and I think that's just all it is. It's no, if it's a better alternative, it's just escaping the now some way. Whether it's better or worse for you.
That's just drugs and addiction for you, but innit?
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
100%, mate. 100%. So back to Porky. Let's see when as you said, your last experience, like you heard they get moved to the Seg and that kind of thing. Did you no cross paths? So it was at Shots. You said you were working with them.
So I was in Shots with him in 2006, and then I went back to Shots start of 2008, and I can't remember if he was there or no. I think he might have been there, but he was in C Hall and I was in B Hall.
Aye.
And I went to, don't think he was in Low Moss when I was there, but when I went to Kilmarnock in 2015 he was there, and he was there right up till I got out. And then when I got out in 2019, I opened the paper one day and seen it had been fucking done a murder.
You wonder what happens to somebody at that stage. Like, right, they must be like, all right, we can't put this guy anywhere. So every time we do something happens, it's like, do they just stay in
Sometimes, but I think it's, see somebody with no hope, who's the jail's your world, what's currency in jail? Violence, a rep, don't fuck with me, I've killed people in here and everything, I've stabbed governors and screws, and mate, people probably just be going out their way to do shit for them, know what I mean? You never know. And violence in prison is applauded. Violence, especially the worse, the better. No taking liberties, but if somebody stepped on your toes, the worse shit you do to them, the better. In the eyes of the general consensus.
The
know
jail
what I mean?
populace, man.
Therefore,
it's that thing. It's like a very, see, for somebody that's maybe got a bit of power in jail or get a bit of money, that's a very handy person to have on side, because you're sitting, you could make your time a bit easier if you want to get some money, but like, listen, I'm no stranger to any violence, and it's like somebody like that, even the threat of violence for somebody like this, it's like, some people might be up for it, but somebody like that, you might know what to cross paths with somebody like that. Not thought of it.
This is it, mate. If you're in Dana 5 or something, you've got a lib date, and then somebody like that's lumped next door to you, and one day, see if you know for a fact you're never leaving prison alive. What's to stop you?
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
You're going to be in regardless.
Do you know what I mean? And I think it's frightening, to be honest with you, because somebody's son went to prison and never came back.
I know, it's a horrible thing when you think about it, innit, man?
Know what I mean?
It's crazy.
Imagine your mom getting a phone call, man, somebody'd fucking strangled you in a cell, not
I know.
That's horrendous, man.
When you see both sides of it, man, it's fucking a horrible situation.
But I think he's just fucking, he'll probably be in the Seg now for the rest of his days, know what I mean?
Aye,
Until he's
possibly.
in his fucking 70s and can't even
Aye, he's
use a
incapable.
blade.
Aye,
Know what I
aye.
mean? Alzheimer's or something. Just put him in there and leave him. Know what I mean?
So see if I take you forward a bit, man. See as you go through, like you've done like a few big sentences and that. At what point was it kind of turning point where you're kind of like, I need to turn my back on this kind of stuff?
Funnily enough, I'd actually been... The seed was actually there before I got my 16 year. It was... I just felt different after... So I done my 4 year, right? Got out, got my recall and got out. Got my 16 year.
What was the 16 years for?
Attempted murder and a serious assault. Fight me two older guys outside the pub. Do you want me to go into it now?
Aye, go into it, man. Aye, go into it. If you want to go into it.
No, it's just because we were talking about what point did I realise I wanted to change. Like then if I'm going on about something else, it's like...
No, of course.
I hate
of course.
that. Like, fucking answer the question.
No, of course it's when you brought it up because I wasn't too sure how long. But
it all kind of links in. So basically what happened was, when I done my recall for my 4 year, right, I get out and I just felt different. I didn't know how I felt different or what was up with me, but eventually I came to realise that my life was going round in circles, people were getting stabbed, people were like stabbing me, whatever, and I'm just like, this is shit. I want to do something with myself. And I remember like contacting a couple of colleges, and I got my girlfriend to get me like paperwork to join the Navy because I was into like know how they're always going round the world, and I just thought it was dead interesting for some reason, and I just didn't have the guts to go through with it. I just really didn't. I was too clinging to my comfort zone, which was Cambuslang, staying with family, whatever. Just my life was just going nowhere, and ended up getting out one night after I'd been up York Hill seeing my cousin. She was only 12. She had leukemia, man. It was horrendous. I'd went up to the hospital and seen it was a horrible feeling, man. She seen me veins with tubes coming out their nose, not, and I was just like fucking hell. And then that night, somebody had attacked a family member of mine, and they were saying it was through me, and the family member they attacked is no involved in it at all. Never had a fucking parting ticket. And the people that done it to him, I knew they're kind. They would attack him because he was an easy victory.
Aye.
And I was just like, man, Friday night, man, we're doing something's happening. I don't know. I just knew something was going to happen that night. So this was the day after. So I went out, and the day after I went to the hospital, and that happened with my uncle. So I went out that night, and I had a pool ball and a golf ball and a soak, and then that soak inside another soak because it bursts easy. I don't know if you know it. If you're swinging it can rip. And I tied a knot in it, and I had it in my pocket because I was trying to stop carrying knives. And I'd come out the pub, walked across the road to the takeaway, and I ended up getting into a conversation with these two older guys that I knew. Well, I recognised one of them. The other one's his brother, and obviously they'd been drinking and I'd been drinking, but they'd been refused service at the pub that I'd just come out of because they were mad with it and being quite aggressive. And I got into a conversation with the two of them. One of them was being sound, but the other one was just being a dick. And obviously, me being me, 21-year-old, nobody will fuck with me or that shit. I'm just like, here, you better fucking tone it down a notch, man. And the bra said something, I was like, get a grip of him or I'm gonna do it. And the guy was being a dick, just fucking punched us a belter, man. And I was like, oh, here we go, you, man. I just whipped my hang out, man. I just fucking whacked him right between the eyes, mate, and he just bounced right off his shutters and fell, and his brother attacked us, and then he's get back up, and fucking I was rolling about with the two of them, and then a couple of people have come out the pub and seen it, joined in, their buds have joined in, just a fucking pure rollabout out in this car park, right? And then the guy who punched me, man, I was just dead set on making sure I went above and beyond, making sure that he would get back more than what he paid for, if you get me. And he was lying on, I got him on the ground, and I was just whacking him right between the shoulder blades with that pull ball and the soak, and I was doing that fucking say sorry and all that, and he was like, I'm sorry and all. And then when I've went to walk away from him, but in fact I did walk away, and I got to the other side of the road, heard him let out a scream, right, and I've turned around, and one of the wee mob was like squatting down, poking him with a blade. They'd been watching it for the back of a close or something, and when we had stopped beating him up, he went down and stabbed him and basically punctured his lung. But the guy survived, thankfully, you know what I mean? There was 4 days that got charged with it. They got 7 years and I got what I got.
So did you get charged for the stabbing as well?
Aye, because
Really?
art and part, aye. They said in court, the fight wouldn't have happened but for you. And I was
Right,
like,
okay,
and
okay.
I says, how would it know if the guy fucking punched me? Aye, but you could have walked away, you could have phoned the police, you could have done this, you could have done that. Didn't need to fucking bash his skull in with a pool ball and a golf ball and a
Yeah,
soap.
so the way they say as well, you're pre-prepared if you've got a pool ball and a soap.
Aye.
But
But I offered to plead guilty in court to 2 serious assault charges, and my lawyer says they want somebody for the stabbing. I says, well, I'm not going to plead to a stabbing I never done, because you heard the fucking 2 guys getting in and saying it wasn't me that stabbed them, so I'm not going to plead to that when I never done it, because I probably would have if I did it, because I would have been thinking less time. Do you know what I mean? But it just shows you how close you can come to fucking death's door. Do you know what I mean? I probably still wouldn't be out if that guy had died, man. Do you know what I mean? Just on the strength of my past.
Aye.
Like risk factors, all that shit they use to calculate your fucking score, know what I mean?
Aye. Can you look at instances like that? Like, the pendulum could have swung the other way and you'd still be in the jail now. And as you say, it's like one thing, you've not got a lib date, it's much harder to go out. You're a bigger...
Where's the hope?
You're deemed
Where's
on
the-
risk, and then, you could become another porky.
Well, this is it and all that. So what is it? So is the prison system creating monsters, or is it extinguishing them?
I don't know, is it? Maybe it's one of the things, it's like a snowball effect, innit? You can have that thing, but as you say, once you're taking that
I do believe
a man
in...
without hope is dangerous.
Exactly, but I do believe it's up to me or you to give people hope in us. If you come back from the jail and you're still punching people about pubs and fucking drinking and whatever, who's going to want to take a chance on you?
Aye.
You need to give people a reason to see you're worthy of, like, taking a chance on. Nobody's just going to come down and hand you a new life, and you got to work for that shit, know what I mean? And
100%.
there's one thing that I think that, so in the desistance literature, they talk about these things called like judicial rehabilitation, moral rehabilitation, psychological and social. So if we morally rehabilitate ourselves and psychologically rehabilitate ourselves, which links into the first and the second kind of stages of desistance, which is if you stop committing crime, eventually you'll stop seeing yourself as an offender. So change your behaviour, you'll change your identity. Do you get me?
Aye.
So if we can kind of show that we are doing that, then surely our country should follow suit, like France and all that. They have laws where you can go to court, and if you can put a case forward where you're transformed, you're not the same person, you've changed your life, then the law should classify you as rehabilitated under the law. Imagine the fucking impact that would have. What do we have here? Or if you've been done with stealing a motor, you can apply to have your record sealed after 6 months. Fuck off, man. What we'll do? We'll stop calling them inmates and we'll call them service users. Like, fucking serious. See, when I see this shit, and this is meant to be their rehabilitative strategy, it's fucking nonsense, mate. It's just pure, it's a sandcastle that somebody's just got to fling a bucket of water right over the top of it. It's nonsense. Judicial rehabilitation should be a thing here. Because at the same time, say if we're talking, say, tomorrow, right, somebody goes, oh, how should somebody just hand you? I'm not saying somebody should hand me it. I should have the chance to present my fucking case to a court at some point in the future, say after 10 year, 15 year, 20 year, especially for violence, right? It should be the longer the better. But if you can show that change, then how should you not be able to be legally classified as rehabilitated? Because you imagine you've been in the street, the police have stopped you with your pals and done a PNC check, checking the records, right? Or 5-0, I done a sentence, blah blah blah. You imagine what do you think the copper, so say a copper sees you doing something, you're acting suspicious, reasonable suspicion to question you, right? Come and question you, and they think you're up to no good, right? But I would imagine, but imagine it came through the computer, instead of saying, aye, 5-0, aye, Kris McPherson's done fucking 16 years. Imagine it came through, aye, he done 16 years, but he's just been classified legally as rehabilitated. Do you think that copper would think twice about lifting you if it wasn't abundantly clear you were doing something? Because they've got the power to just lift you as long as they can show reasonable suspicion you were committing a crime. They can, maybe they don't, but they still can. I remember one time after I got out of Parliament the first time when I'd been in Carstairs, my pal, me and my brother get stopped in the street, right? We were drinking. They had opened alcohol containers, but I didn't have any. I'd drunk mine, right? And they were asking me, where do you stay? And I told them my address. Where did you stay before that? I knew what they were doing. They were wanting me to say fucking Pullman, whatever. And then when they done the radio check, one of them done that. It was taking him right in front of me. I wasn't doing anything. I'd just been drinking. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't causing a scene. It was like a fucking. It was warm outside and all that, and it was taking him just because in my past, my previous. Know what I mean? And people might go, but fucking once a criminal, always a criminal. Well, the person that said that never had any family that done time and turned their life around. Know what I mean?
No, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And right now, that leads us on to the kind of next point. So you're talking about like finishing the end of that sentence. At what point did you start to drift towards like the YouTube and that kind of thing? What was the kind of thought process involved there?
Mate,
what gave you the push?
So last year I just had a bit of a up and down year, right? There was one good thing, two bad things, two good things, three bad things. It just kept happening all year, right? And one of the things that happened was my brother ended up attacking me in my house, right? So my brother's an addict, right? Lives in the same building as me.
Is that your brother you're close in ages with?
Aye.
Right.
And ever since, he's had all these drug deaths in his house, not, but he keeps saying he wants to get off shit, but he's just no, either he's unwilling or he just can't do it. It's the train's too far gone. And he attacked me in my house, and he kept getting, every time I put him down, he kept getting back up. He tried to put a dumbbell on my head. The dumbbell was just too heavy for him to swing fast enough to knock me out. And when I seen like the state I was in after that, I wouldn't let MD in my house, I wouldn't talk to MD, I just cut everybody off. This was about August last year, right? And I was thinking of hundreds of mad shit, just thinking about abandoning my house, fucking off somewhere with my kid, no talking to MD, blah blah blah. And people have been saying to me, if I've been out, no, but you would be good at podcasting. People have been saying this to me, if I've been out, but I'm just like, fucking podcast, what the fuck's that? I only ever watched YouTube for documentaries, right, if I've been out. And when I first got out, like maybe somebody would go, here, have you seen this 5-0, watch this podcast, not, and I'd maybe watch a couple, and I'd be like, just, like, because I'm strange. I watch the same things hour and hour again until it's burned in my brain. I don't need to watch it. Same with books. I read the same books, so that I don't need to go and check page 37 anymore. I can remember it. And I was sitting and I was going, maybe I should go to volunteering. So I emailed these 3 places. 2 didn't answer me, and one said, aye, but we're in Edinburgh. And I'm like, well, I can't do that. So I'm like, fucking hell, I need to do something. So a guy in my karate class was saying to me, you'd be good at that podcasting. So what I ended up doing was, I was like, fuck it, man. So I fucked about with a YouTube account, right? And I was thinking, like what would I talk about? What would I say? Like, who, do you know what I mean? So you got to kind of think about what you're targeting. So I thought, fuck it. Made a video, right, and called it Tinpail TV, Tinpail Rhyming Slang Jail in Scotland, right, obviously. And because you need to think of something that's got to catch somebody's eye, like Faye, Govan, fucking Gorbals, Pope. Anybody who's been in jail or been in the system or knows them that's been in the system would know fucking right away what that channel was about. So you're going to look at it. So I made this video and I sent it to the guy who was telling me I should do it. And he says, I showed my wife that, and she was like, that guy really knows what he's talking about. I could listen to him talking all day. And then there was a woman who I knew for the jail who was a civilian worker. She's an ex-head teacher. She wrote letters to the Pro Board for me and all. Got her own company and all. She's like, you need to do a TED Talk. And I'm like, fuck yeah, a TED Talk? Are you fucking mad? Know what I mean? But she's a bit like myself. Like, I can be myself around her, even though she's an ex-teacher and she's linked in with all these fucking entrepreneurs and all. Like, I can just be my eccentric, weird, odd self with her, and she accepts that. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
So I was like, right, fuck it, man. So see the guy for my karate, they two knew, he knew her.
Right.
He worked for her. Right, he drove me home one night and he's saying, got talking to him, he's like, I know a woman you might be interested in meeting. I was like, I fucking know her, blah, blah, blah. And she ended up mailing me that night saying, you need to do this TED Talk, blah, blah, blah. Because she's got a big, a auditorium. She's got her own auditorium in down Kilmarnock, right? It's in the old Kilmarnock high school, college, fuck knows what. She's renovated an old high school, a college campus, right? So when she saw that first video, she said to me, that's it, you're doing this. And I said to her, aye, fuck it, I'll do it then. So basically, she has organised an event for February, I think it is, for me to go down and do this. And then when I started doing more videos and seeing the kind of interaction, the positive stuff, obviously you get your bams, know what I mean? You're just, that just,
with the territory.
it's about how you react to it. It's not about,
that's exactly
do you know what I mean? And it's what I always say, you're anonymous for a reason. Do you know what I mean? All these mad anonymous accounts. No?
That's exactly that.
But the more positivity that it generated, the more it's like positive reinforcement, the more positive you want to do it. Do you know what I mean? So, and then I ended up watching, see Ricky Killing's channel, because I watched a couple of American ones, but it's America, innit?
It's not really the same.
Aye, it's no. It's like a war zone. We're like a college, a school playground, know what I mean? But ended up, I was talking to him and that, and he's like, why to come on and do a podcast? And then when I went on his, and the amount of people that messaged me and said really, really nice things, and after that, I was like, yeah, this is actually fucking alright. And then I ended up on Sean's, and then I was just like, this is, because one thing people kept saying to me was, I love the way you come across. So if all these people who don't know each other are saying the same thing, then that tells me that's a good thing.
Nah, it's a sign, know what I mean? It's
a
like
pattern.
It's authenticity, it shines through. Because when I watched it, it was like, it's like, see, you're talking about your experience, but you're talking about it in a manner, you explain it very well, but you explain it almost, you don't purposely do it in layman's terms, but you talk it as if like you're telling one of your pals a story. And that's the thing, it makes it relatable, so it makes it much easier to listen to, because you're not listening to some reporter that's never been in jail, that's gathered all this information for like media sources now, which is good sometimes when you're hearing somebody listening like, I was in there, this is what went down. It's like, if you use like an example, when you talk about Baldy Shahid in one of your videos, like, well, all we know, like, a lot of stuff is for the papers and that, but you're going like that, like, listen, this was meant to be going on, it's all behind the scenes. And
Exactly.
It's like the insider look.
That is it, because this is what I always say about these academics that are going into research prisons. They're not going to tell you everything. You don't have the security clearance, if you want to call it that. The same way no every screw's got access to every bit of the jail. There's got to be all sorts of shit nobody will ever divulge to you. And obviously with us being in there, there's things that we can never talk about, obviously, or people we couldn't talk about. But there's things you can, right? And it's just one of these things, man. At the end of the day, it's like, you need to kind of make the judgment in that way, innit? Do you know what I mean?
That's exactly that.
And it's what you say, it is better coming from somebody. I would rather listen to somebody that was there and that seen it or knew about it or had first-hand knowledge, as opposed to somebody who, what you say, fucking went to social work school for 5 years and then went and read books about criminals. Do you know what I mean?
But who else are you going to listen to? Somebody that goes to a war zone, the reporter or the soldier?
Well, that's it.
The soldier, it's a person that's been on the front line that can tell you the real impact.
Well, it depends on what you want to learn. If I want to learn about war, then I'll go to the soldier. But if I want to learn about just what went on, then you could maybe talk to a reporter, because they're embedded. A lot of them are embedded reporters. They're going to Iraq and embedding with fucking gangs of soldiers and all that, and but it depends what you want to learn,
I
innit?
suppose, mate, I suppose. But anyway, I'm just about to wrap up the podcast, mate, but it's been a really great chat, and I feel as if we've only just scratched the surface,
Tell
so
me about it.
I'm more than happy to get you back on, mate. It's been an
Defo,
absolute
mate.
pleasure. Like, for the life you've came for, you've got one hell of a background, one hell of a story. You've been through the wars, been through the prison systems, man, from one end to the other, and the fact that you've turned it around, you're trying to be a good dad, you're being a good dad, you're acting, and you're using your stories. You're doing a positive thing, which is good to see, and it's inspiring, and I really love your stuff, man, and
Cheers,
long may
mate.
it continue,
Aye,
mate.
defo,
But before we finish up, is there any people want to find you? Tinpail TV on YouTube, but anywhere else people can find you to maybe get in contact, or if there's anything you want to promote?
So, but no, just basically like if they did want to kind of, so on my YouTube page has got all the links to my social media. Like people message me all the time and say like, oh, your stories are good, and like it's like guys mail me, oh, I know we hang with, I know Five, whatever, right? I've had a lot of that, just mad randomers, know what I mean? But it's all good, innit? Just if they want to look at it, they can just find it on there, innit?
That's it, Tinpail TV on YouTube, people. But that's enough for us. That's Kris McPherson. Absolute pleasure, bro.
Cheers, mate.
Like, subscribe, don't get wide. Catches.
Premeditated patter.